and the outflow is very slow and the inflow is even worse. Huko ndio mnaingia nyinyi wote mnapatana na mnakuwa na shida. Pipeline also bumper to bumper right now. There's like a stretch coming from I really don't know the name of this road, but just know that pale Paipu Water Ring Road kameshikana mbaya tena sana. Airport North Road, pockets of a little bit of traffic, but this is moving traffic. Actually, zero delays on there. You just have to move very slowly, and I believe this is because of some potholes I usually see on that road when I'm moving there. And of course, human traffic there causing also a little bit of traffic. Mombasa, let's see what is happening in Mombasa County. Watu waambaje kule sehemu za Mombasa. I'm planning actually to visit Mombasa one of these fine days. I don't know if I'll do it before the year ends.
You've never been to Mombasa?
No. I have several times actually. Yeah. But I'm saying traveling just to enjoy myself for the holidays.
And in the past, when you've gone to Mombasa, what have you gone to do?
Work.
Oh dear.
I've been in the last 5 years I've been to coast like 6 times, and it's all for work.
Right. And you've never been able to mix work and pleasure?
Nope.
Why not?
Namalizanga kazi kama nimerudi Nairobi. But yeah, Mombasa naangalia hamna traffic yote, but kuna kashida pale Sheikh Abdullah Road. Hii ni mkienda kushikana pale na barabara inajulikana kama, sasa hii barabara inaitwa nini? Hii barabara ni kama haina I'm sure Nyali Road. So male Sheikh Abdullah inaenda kupatana na Nyali Road hapo kidogo mkorashia. But it's because of that T-junction. Everything else after that looks fantastic. The rest of the county looks absolutely good, and actually the entire island, nothing to complain about. So if you see something on the road you think I should know about, you know where to find us. That is at Radio Gen KE across all socials.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
All right. Bro, kuna gazeti gani hapo?
I have the Business Daily.
Acha nianze basi na Daily Nation.
Right.
Senior school fees shocker for parents. This story is on page 4 and 5. So wanasema changes for 1.13 million pioneers of the competency-based education progress to the next level will hit the pockets of their parents and guardians hard, as a majority of them will now be required to pay higher fees. In new guidelines released by the Education Ministry, learners in day schools will, for the first time since 2015, pay 9,374 shillings annually, while those in all boarding institutions will be charged a flat rate of 53,554 shillings each. Yeah, stories on page 4 and 5. What? Hi. Ruto's political conundrum. ODM blackmail and 2027 bid. Hey. Now, a fresh demand by ODM to lay claim to the deputy president's seat in any deal with UDA has complicated the political puzzle for President Ruto, who must make new alliances while maintaining a tight grip on his old bases. I'll tell you something about this later. Yeah. But also, pale kando kuna story we are afraid to leave our homes, Kenyans in Tanzania cry out, and they say they are facing hostility in a country they have always considered home. That story is on page 8. More hardship for landslide survivors. They are going without food, water or medical help as humanitarian workers struggle to reach them amid treacherous conditions. And there's an inside deal that ended a 49-day Varsity Dons strike. You can see that story on pages 2 and 3. So they have come to a deal. And what's in the deal? The government will pay 7.7 billion in 2 equal tranches. That is 3.8 billion by December 31st this year, and then another 3.8 billion by July next year. Academic calendar recovery. Universities will reorganize calendars to recover lost time and restore normal operations. I remember during this, when I was in campus and we had these strikes, and then now the lecturers have got to recover that time. Bro, mlikuwa mnapelekwa crash course. Zingine noma sana. Salaries and benefit entitlements and union dues for September and October 2025 to be paid by November 10th. 2025. So that means in the next 4 days this money will be paid, and no staff will be victimized for participating in the strike. That's a given. And then staff whose contracts were terminated for participating in the strike will be reinstated. Haya, kuna watu walifutwa because ati walikuwa wameenda strike. Bwana, hii country yetu saa zingine.
The country is fine. There are some people in this country
There's a sad story here. Help, we are dying. Mr. President, don't turn your back. So as the world's deadliest war grinds on, Kenya's forgotten sons are bleeding on the Russian front lines, trapped by deceit and abandoned by diplomacy. President William Ruto and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who vowed swift action nearly 2 weeks ago, have gone silent as families drown in anguish, begging for news of their children.
How did these young people get to go to Russia?
Again, there's a time we sat here with the Ukrainian ambassador, and he was telling us that even them, Ukraine, they have enlisted foreigners into their service, into their military. But theirs is straightforward, and you're told that you are going to join the army, and you volunteer and you say yes. So, of course, you'll be paid, not volunteer, but you volunteer yourself.
You volunteer to be paid.
No. So, once you are drafted into this thing, unaenda huko and you do your thing. But now he was telling us that in on the Russian side, people are being duped. You're told you're probably going to be a teacher in Russia, or you're going to work as a restaurateur, or you're going to work as someone in the hospitals, only for you to get there.
I have a problem with that narrative. That's why I would very much like to get clarity on it.
But it was somehow backed by because again, there's bias coming from him since he is a Ukrainian ambassador. But kuna watu ambao wamejitokeza now after that interview on various TV stations here in Kenya, and they have said that they went to Russia either as tourists, and they were asked, would you like to extend your stay here? And they say, of course I would like.
Why don't we look for some of these people? Wherever they've appeared, I'm sure we can get hold of them.
Yeah.
Because I'd like someone to explain this to me, because the dominant narrative is that they were duped.
Yes.
I'd like to know from whence they were found, how they went to Russia, how they were trained, how they ended up fighting, because the aftermath is what is the focus. They are now fighting. Okay, how did they get there? When we were told stories of how young people in this country are told all manner of interesting stories about what awaits them in terms of foreign jobs in the Middle East, foreign jobs in Southeast Asia, we've understood how they get there.
Yeah.
They are people who work at promising people that such jobs await them. So it's a process that we understand. This one I don't understand.
So again, from what I have seen and read also, unaenda ukule unadhani kuna watu kuna enlist watu for jobs. It's just that you're not told it's a military. You're probably told there are available jobs. You can apply to be a driver
in Russia. So you can apply to
be.
Do they tell you about the winters in Russia when they're telling you these stories?
Sasa hapo kuambiwa conditions za hiyo sijui.
Okay.
But what I'm telling is that kuna positions ziko available. Unaambiwa unaenda kukua dereva, kukua mpishi, kukua nurse, kukua vitu nyingi sana.
You are a young person.
Yeah.
Umesoma upishi.
Then
hopefully.
And forget, actually kuna wengine wanaambiwa wanaenda university kusoma. So study uko Urusi, si ndio? So you're told you apply here. Kawaida you apply to go become an engineer, a doctor, whatever it is you apply for. Only for you to land in this country, and you're told sasa before uingie pale, tunataka uingie pale.
Na pale
tutakupatia bunduki. Kuna watu wanatusumbua bro. Tunaweza taka usome, lakini unajua wale kitusumbua huwezi soma. So enda deal na wale kwanza. Ukishamaliza kudeal na wao, kuja saa darasani
usome.
Alafu nasema unajua mimi nilikuwa nimekuja class, nirudi Nairobi, then mkishasoti maneno yenyu nitarudi, naambia bro hata ndege kukurudisha haiko. So ingia pale. So yeah. But there are some videos that have been circulating online of Kenyans in that war. I'm not sure whether it's from the Russian side or the Ukrainian side. They're actually having a good time.
Having a good time in war.
Walai bro, wacha nikwambie. Kuna video sijui kama iko hapa kwa simu.
What sort of sites do you engage with wewe?
Iko kwa WhatsApp.
Ndio hiyo site nilikuwa nataja.
Niliona video ya Wakenya wawili dancing to some rumba music. And then they had that Caucasian friend of theirs dancing.
Sio hapa na hiyo ilichukuliwa hapa Nairobi.
No. Hiyo unaona vizuri sana, wako na military gear, wamevaa hizo nguo zao za vita, mtu ameshikilia bunduki yake, then akona sasa that person, I'm not sure if it's a Russian or a Ukrainian, wako hapo bana, wana enjoy rumba, wakivuta sigara, wameshikilia chupa ya whatever it is that they enjoy.
Unajuaje hiyo ni Russia?
Hiyo vita iko Russia bro.
Unajuaje?
Sababu si wako like even the caption on that video. Alafu pia
captions mtu anaweza weka.
Sikiza bro. Alafu pia venye jamaa anaongea yule huyo mwenzao.
So hawa jamaa ambao ni Wakenya ambao wameenda kule tayari wanajua Kirusi.
No, sijasema Mkenya anaongea, nasema huyo rafiki yao mwenyeji wa hiyo country. Sasa unasikia hata venye anaongea, accent yake, anajaribu kuongea Kizungu. But hiyo Kizungu ni Kizungu ndio, it's English for sure. Ama ni Kiingereza lakini the accent that Kiingereza comes out with, unajua tu hapa it's either in Ukraine or Russia.
Inatoka na vishindo.
Inatoka na zile, it's like you're trying to speak but it is coming out with a different kind of accent. So you can tell this is someone either in Ukraine or someone in Russia. And I know this because I listen to them.
Mazee unaonaga vitu funny.
I'll actually look for that video, City, and if I get it, I'll send it to you. You be the judge.
That I will be.
Yeah,
happily.
But also there's a possibility that they were coerced and probably told, you need to look good in this video. You need to look happy. We need you to look like you're enjoying one of your local music there, because you're listening to rumba. And they were playing it on their phone. They were having, one of them, like for instance, was having a cigarette on his hand.
And did they strike you as people who actually smoke? Because you can hold a cigarette, but you're not really a smoker.
Now that one I don't know. Then you could tell the other one ameshikilia chupa ya pombe.
Did you see him drinking it?
Sasa si unajua ana dance hivi, ako pale hivyo,
you take a sip.
Yes, ninasema ni akisha dance kidogo anachapa sip yake.
And how do you know it's alcohol?
City, you're asking me impossible questions.
No.
I can't.
I am aware. You are not there with them, so you can't answer these questions.
But I get you're asking out loud. You're thinking out loud.
Yes.
So that is the situation currently. That's why I said perhaps they've been coerced into that to make it look good, so that they can send it back home and dispel the fears that these people are having a really rough time. They were forced into this. Yeah.
Hey.
And then there was an expose either by, was it BBC or Al Jazeera?
Hey.
One of those international media,
BBC, Al Jazeera.
What do you tell Al Jazeera BBC? Where they went to a certain hospital and there were foreigners there. This time not just Kenyans. There were foreigners from different parts of the world.
Hiyo jamaa wacha nikwambie what's in the business daily. Kabla tujafunga. Hiyo vita imeisha ama bado inaendelea?
Ya Ukraine?
Yeah.
Hiyo kitu bado iko.
Then we'll talk about it next week.
All right.
Okay, sawa. OK's French investors 3.5 telco tower firm deal. Kuna deal inaitwa a telco tower. The telco tower is actually called Atlas Tower. Okay. The Competition Authority of Kenya wamesema carry on. Hiring stalls despite strong business activity jump. Apparently, Kenyan companies froze employment in October, November, the last month. Even as business activities and sales expanded at the fastest pace since February 22nd, with executives less optimistic about future expansion. Okay. Kenya snubs 129 billion UAE loan for Eurobond. Okay. Kenya is reluctant to take the remaining $1 billion loan from the UAE after falling global interest rates provided cheap alternatives like Eurobonds. Okay? Kenya has become choosy. Kenya Power is rationing electricity in some areas. Kenya Power is rationing electricity due to reduced supply in what has forced the country to increasingly rely on Ethiopia and Uganda for its energy needs. President William Ruto made the stark admission on Tuesday, revealing that Kenya Power has been forced to cut off electricity supplies to some regions between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. as the company grapples with reduced local generation. Okay. We have to do load shedding. We have to shut off power in some areas to be able to power others because energy is not enough. This is what the president said. Okay, Mr. President, we hear you. Back in the middle of the paper, NSE valuation nears 3 trillion milestone as shares surge. Market rally driven by investors seeking high returns. Kenya Power leads gains with among 20 largest firms on browse. Okay, investors in Kenya, it means, are increasing, and they're seeking high returns, which our NSE seems to promise them. Sawa. Yesterday it closed at 2.99 trillion, up from 2.473 trillion in mid-July, offering investors return of $500 billion shillings in the period. Your pesa ni mingi. Right.
Mingi sana.
Trillion ni mingi.
Haya, acha nikwambie niko kwa Star newspaper.
Tafadhali.
Star newspaper nasema hivi: proposed law to ban sale of embryos and surrogacy fees. We've spoken about that. That story is on page 2 of The Standard. Kenya's all-time hero Raila betrayed life and death. You want to understand what Nzao Musawa is saying? Read page 16 of The Star. Mauritius-based firm acquires Zuku operations in Kenya. It's a buyout, basically. That story is on page 11. Zuku has survived this industry, this market.
Has it now?
My friend, Zuku may survive despite the competition. Aikia. Watu ni kama, I don't know, they serve a living God. They do. Yeah, they do.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
Because the number of complaints I see online about Zuku, but they're still there. You will find them in your estates. You will find them. They will even send you adverts. You will see them on social media. Despite all the drama they have faced, they have hung on. Someone needs to do a study on Zuku and just understand how. The number of times you'll see someone saying, hey, this relationship with Zuku, and they're still there. Big shout out to the management. And now they have been acquired by a Mauritius-based firm. And of course, you know what happens when one company buys another. That means that, of course, improvements will be made. Some of those improvements are not going to be good for certain individuals, because it means someone is going to be either fired, another is going to be hired to replace them, or someone is going to be 10 people will be replaced by one person, because some of these firms usually come with austerity measures to ensure that maximum profitability is achieved. So big shout out to them. And I feel like because they have been there for a very long time, they actually deserve a fighting chance. So wish them all the best. How pay for civil servants is straining development. Story again is on page 4 and 5. This one is surrounding the National Treasury. Check that out. Parents of Down syndrome kids call for more special schools. That story is on page 3 of the Star newspaper. Cheniangalie nyuma kuna nini kinatendeka. Nitaanza na Standard. Wanasema Liverpool have eyes on the prize. This is as far as sports is concerned, and you can see there are some of the teams that have made, this is according to the UEFA champions, some of the teams that have made it, and those ones who are struggling to make it. You can check that out. But it says that leaders Bayern and second place Arsenal maintain perfect record. I remember last year Liverpool tulikuanga hapo na tukajipata sijui wapi. So this is tricky.
Liverpool ile team support.
Ile team yangu. By the way tulitandika Real Madrid juzi 1-0, just so you know. Then Europa League winners Tottenham win 4-0 at home to FC Copenhagen. Yeah, absolutely amazing game. And even yesterday, Man City walitaandika. Man City walikuwa wacheza na nani jana? They did quite a good job. Wish them all the best going forward. And a couple of other teams that I'm forgetting right now that also were playing yesterday. Big shout out to them. Tunawatakia kila la heri. Alafu nyuma ya the Star newspaper, how far can Ingwe go? That is a question they are asking. Leopards roar with 6-game unbeaten run, but head coach Ambani urges caution. If you're a supporter of local football, you definitely want to check that out. Kenyan boxing set for revival, says KPBC's Ndolo after return to CBC role. Ndolo alitoka politics kabisa. Ruben Ndolo.
So it would appear.
Yeah. Having been an MP for a very long time, he decided...
It wasn't that long.
Yeah.
But he was an MP.
He was an MP, and he decided,
But he himself was a boxer.
I know he was a boxer. So he went back to his passion, his first love.
Yes.
Akaona hii maneno ya weka taya kidogo ilimleta juu sana. Haya. UFC meets with FBI over weird betting on Vegas fight. So what's happening as far as this is concerned? UFC President Dana White says he has met with FBI over suspicious betting activity on a fight at UFC Vegas.
This
110.
president is everywhere, isn't he?
But you know, this is not UFC President Dana White.
On kuna fikiri Trump.
Hapana, si Trump.
Si Trump.
Si Trump.
Sungesema bro.
Nimesema sasa anaitwa Dana White. Huyu ni president wa UFC.
Si Donald Trump.
Hapana, hapana. UFC ni hawasi, they usually fight with their bare knuckles. Well, they usually cover them with some like vitamba, but they don't wear gloves. Them it's just tata.
They wear gloves.
But si gloves.
Si gloves.
Wanafunga tu kitamba hivi.
Yeah, ni gloves.
Kwa knuckles, but the rest of the hands are bare. Yes.
So kupigwa umepigwa kisho.
And they also apply some kickboxing, eh?
Meaning it's a free for all.
Headbutt
inaruhusiwa?
I'm not sure.
Wrestling inaruhusiwa?
Wrestling. Yeah. Because it's combat. It's hand-to-hand combat, literally. Yeah, they even allow some kicking here and there.
And there's a championship.
Yes, there is. And it's actually a huge...
There's even a cup.
It's a huge market.
It's professional.
Do you know of a gentleman known as Andrew Tate? Andrew Tate. He was once
ni jamaa yetu hapa.
No. He's an American. But he was indicted a while back for some sex crimes.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
What did he do?
But he's a motivational speaker as well.
Motivational?
Yeah, motivational speaker.
What does he motivate people on?
And he's on life.
Life?
Yeah.
Was he jailed?
I'm not sure. I will actually confirm that.
He's gone with the story.
Yeah. But anyway, so Andrew Tate was a UFC fighter and actually a champion at it.
Is it a paying job?
It is a paying job.
So you're being paid to beat people up?
Yeah. It's just like boxing and wrestling.
Boxing is different.
So kuna majama lately in the US, this gambling thing has been a big deal lately.
Gambling?
Yes. You know, officials and players are not allowed to gamble in the States. In all over the world.
Officials?
For example, yes, officials.
If you're an official in that sport.
And the players also. So for example, let me pick up a player. Mo Salah plays for Liverpool. He's not allowed to bet.
Mohamed Salah. The
Egyptian. So Mohamed Salah is not allowed to gamble. You can gamble because you're a fan.
Because I'm not Mo Salah.
You're a fan of the game. But Mo Salah is not allowed. And neither is any other player, officials of that sport, anyone involved in the sport, you're not supposed to gamble.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
so if I want to gamble and I'm a player, even if it's table tennis, I'm not allowed to gamble in table tennis.
You exit the game completely. Endo betu kokenje. So anyway, the story I'm trying to bring about gambling is juzi kuna watu ambao wameshikwa in a gambling scandal. Officials.
Ooh.
Yes, officials. Ooh. Because you see, gambling...
Is it match fixing?
Is exactly. There's a connection between gambling and match fixing for officials. So whereby you know your team is either going to win or lose.
Right.
And you ensure that outcome is guaranteed.
Right.
So mnasikizana na the other team, ama na referee, for example, you make sure. Because you know gambling has many aspects into it. You can bet on, for example, the number of goals that can be scored in a game. You can bet on, for example, the team player who will score. You can say that CT Muga will score, for example, a goal in this particular match. You can also say that X number of yellow cards will be handed during the match, or a red card, or so that, or say a corner, X number of corners shall be.
What?
Yes, gambling is a big industry, bro.
Corner.
Mbaka corners.
I can even say there'll be 3 penalties.
You can even exactly. So you can say that you can even say there are going to be 3 red cards, for example, in this particular match. So match fixing is in si mabao pekee ama ni timu gani itashinda ama ni gani italose pekee yake.
It's multifaceted.
Yes. So you can even ensure a penalty is scored. So mnaweza sikizana na the referee and maybe even other officials, you just make sure that in this game there's going to be a what? There's going to be a penalty. So na wewe as an official, because you already know the outcome, you go place a bet. Na unaekelea pesa mingi sana. Because the odds are usually stacked depending on the probability and the possibilities that game presents. So if you say, for example, there's going to be a penalty, or there are going to be 3 red cards or even 4 yellow cards in this particular game, you just tell the referee, make sure umetupatia yellow ngapi? 4.
Peke yake tu.
and then you go place even something like 5 million Kenya shillings, that amount is multiplied even 4, 5, 10, even 10 times. So you can imagine from that 5 million bob that you placed as an official, unatoka na 50 million. So match fixing, they take it very seriously.
That's what that guy whom I thought was Trump was talking about.
Yes.
So you guys are not going to do this thing anymore. Yeah. Do you hear?
Yeah.
Right.
Kuna players in the past wamepatikana in match fixing scenarios, and it's been very bad for them. It's literally a career ending move.
So when you are a kickboxer, you now become a motivational speaker.
No, Andrew Tate now, he retired from the sport. He played well. After a while, he got whatever he got. He achieved whatever he wanted to achieve in the sport.
So the kiddie fiddling accusation was when?
So that one, it was recently, about maybe 2.
Oh, after he had left the boxing.
Yeah. After now, he became an international, and it happened in a foreign country, not even in America, because he's an American.
He was accused.
Is he American?
But was it? No. Yeah. Was he found guilty, or he was just accused?
So the case either is still ongoing.
Because accusations are easy.
Yeah, ni kweli. Yeah. So Andrew Tate is an American and British social media personality. So he's both American and British. And then his crimes, let me just see.
Crimes?
That scandal of his, in which country did it happen? I'm not sure. But I'll look for it. Then we shall get back. Perhaps.
What I'm asking is, when you are a celebrity, or it is known, or you are referred to as a celebrity, and some of these things follow you like fleas on a dog. People will say all manner of things. You'll be accused. The accusation bit, that is normal. Okay?
Yeah.
That's stick on a cow.
Yes.
However, if he has been found guilty, we then have to ask, who was this person who accused him, and why did they accuse him?
Currently, he's facing, him and his brother actually. So the Tate brothers face rape and trafficking charges in the United Kingdom. And it's
trafficking.
Yes.
Those are rather serious charges. Hey!
So British prosecutors have confirmed that Andrew and Tristan Tate face 21 criminal charges in total that include rape, assault, and human trafficking. It is the first time the Britain's Crown prosecution has revealed the detailed charges that it first authorized last year after a police service in Bedfordshire, north of London, provided it with a file of allegations dating back to a period between 2012 and 2015. That's a bit about the brothers. So watajitetea vilivyo. So that's what you're having on your papers. You can check more stories if you get to buy them this particular morning. When we get back, of course, tutaangalia what else can be extracted from these particular stories. But yeah, good stuff for teachers. Yeah, they have come to a deal. But hapa kwa senior school fees, hapa ndio nashangaa bana. What is going to happen? 55,000 shillings. 55,000 shillings.
I think that's what you call free education.
Oh, this is the free education, eh?
They had said no free education, remember?
Yeah.
So they have kept their word, have they not? Yes.
So but 55,000?
So this thing of
isn't that a bit much?
This person lies. They didn't lie. They told you there's no free education. Now they're proving it to you that there is no free education.
Yeah.
Yes.
Salamu zimfikie Noba Tuwara anasema good morning Uncle City and Brother Movie. Good to see you well and healthy. Well, thank you so much. My take 2.0 anasema if someone makes a choice to go participate in a fight somewhere, how does that become the governor's mistake? I honestly think some Kenyan media are losing it. Yeah. This is the thing. Ninategemea ulifika kule aje. Watu wamedupiwa hii Kenya. Like, remember that story we were saying about Southeast Asia? Is it Southeast Asia? Where folks went there and they were recruited very well by agencies in this country.
And then?
Unafika huko bro, unapata you're a slave.
Kwa ufupi.
So saa zingine bana, and you know Wakenya wengi si kwa ubaya. Hawajuangi hizi vitu. Wao unajua unaweza kuwa mjanja lakini kuna Mkenya mwingine kwa manzea shikanishi. Anyway, here's the news with Winnie Maganga.
It's 7 o'clock. The home of urban soul. Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Lecturers' Union called off its nationwide strike after the government committed to release 7.9 billion Kenya shillings to settle outstanding salary arrears. In a statement issued on Wednesday, Uwasu and Kusu said they have reached an agreement with the Ministry of Education, the National Treasury and University Councils on the phased release of the funds. According to the document, the government will release 3.8 billion Kenya shillings this month, while the remaining half will be paid in July 2026.
Today, the 5th of November 2025, the strike has been called off. The strike that has taken 49 days is now called off. It's been called off because we have been able, guided by the ministry, to go through the paces of negotiations. And as social party, we uphold the spirit of give and take. Whatever we went out to pursue, indeed, we managed to get the 7.9.
At least 5 people have been arrested in Nairobi and other regions across the country for allegedly impersonating candidates in the ongoing KCSE exams. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba confirmed the arrest on Wednesday while supervising the opening of the examination container in Dagoretti sub-county, saying they undermine the integrity of the national examination process.
It's regrettable that a few individuals have attempted to engage in examination malpractice despite repeated warnings. The government has already taken firm action against those involved, and these measures should serve as a strong deterrent to anyone contemplating to undertake similar misconduct. For instance, there are situations in Nairobi and other parts of the country where 5 or so people were arrested impersonating as the students.
A woman has been arraigned before a Nairobi court for allegedly conspiring to defraud CDN Bank 7.3 million Kenya shillings. Elizabeth Kubai is accused of receiving the funds in January through an account registered in her name and linked to a Safaricom line. The court will determine whether the money legally belonged to her and verify the authenticity of the transaction.
Kama kampuni ya Underage Enterprises kupitia akaunti yako ya I&M ambayo imesajiliwa na nambari ya akaunti 02405478106150 ambayo imesajiliwa kwa jina la Elizabeth Wekera Kubai, na wakati ule wa kupata ile pesa ulijua ama ulikuwa na sababu ya kuamini kwamba ile pesa ilikuwa mmoja wa pesa ambayo imepatikana kwa njia ya wizi.
National Assembly's Committee on Regional Development has raised concern over the worsening floods and landslides across the country. The committee says urgent humanitarian support and long-term disaster preparedness measures are needed. Committee Chairperson Peter Lokachapong expressed sympathy to affected families, noting that the disasters have claimed more than 34 lives, displaced hundreds and destroyed homes, schools and roads. The hardest hit areas include Chesongoch in Elgeyo Marakwet, Kimende in Kiambu, Kamutungi in Embu, Tinderet in Nandi and parts of Narok South. A German court on Wednesday ordered a life jail sentence to a palliative care nurse for the murder of 10 patients and attempted murder of 27 others with the lethal injections. The court in the western city of Aachen found the 44-year-old man guilty of the offenses committed between December 2023 and May 2024 in a hospital in Vasselen near Aachen. The court also determined that the offenses carried a particular severity of guilt, which will bar him from early release after 15 years. The man, who has not been publicly named, was accused by prosecutors of playing master of life and death. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
The view views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
A very good morning to you. Welcome back to Radio Generation. The time right now is 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. And in studio, we are with CT Muga and also our guest. But before I introduce her, let me remind you that you can find us on 88.8 FM in Nairobi and 90.7 FM in Mombasa. RadioGeneration.co.ke is where we are at live, internationally recognized. And like I usually tell you, on Facebook, you can also find us live, and on X, you can also find us live. Right now, though, allow me to introduce the Executive Director, Association of Media Women in Kenya, Quinta Mbori. Quinta, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Radio Generation.
Asante, good morning Mbuvi.
Niko salama sana. Nimeona hapa mmesalimiana na City, nikasema ni marafiki wa kutoka kitambo sana.
We come from way back. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Good stuff. City ni nani hujui? I think that will be an easier question.
Kindiki.
You don't know the professor?
No, man.
You don't know the deputy president?
Sumeniuliza.
So kuna mtu mmoja anajua mwenye hujui?
Yes. Simjui.
City is a good man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he only knows good people.
You know, this man, it is a special gift that God gave him. The ability to interpret things in ways that will confound you completely. You say one thing, did you hear the interpretations?
You see, what happened is we have a brief history with City.
Right.
And actually aligned to the work that I currently do.
Yes.
I'm sure he'll talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually know about Amwick.
Oh, you do?
My mother had been a member for a very long time because she was in broadcast media.
Wow.
Yeah. But for the sake of the listener who has absolutely no idea who or what Amwick is all about, maybe you can introduce us to Amwick.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Amwick, actually, it's in full, we say the Association of Media Women in Kenya. It is the national, like the UN, it is the national association that caters for all the women across Kenya, all the 47 counties.
Right.
And we've been around. We are a not-for-profit organization. We've been around for a while, and I'm not surprised your mother was a member of Amwick, which makes you an associate member of Amwick.
Yes.
So Amwick was established in 1982. And basically, it was around the time when women were really pushing and agitating for better representation and portrayal in the media. I wouldn't say a lot has changed. The progress has been slow, but at least we've seen some steady rise and increment of issues that of issues that are affecting women in the media. Amwick is a membership organization, and we have membership again cutting across all the 47 counties in Kenya. And what we basically do is we pool resources. You know, one of our strength actually is membership and the numbers. Okay. So we pool resources, we pool networks of our members across the country to give visibility to issues that affect women, youth, and the children. Now, Amwick, our programs and activities are aligned around 5 thematic areas. The first one is on media development and membership. One thing that they won't tell you is that there are certain specialized skills that media training schools will not give you.
Such as?
How to report on specific issues like gender sensitively, gender transformatively. So you'll be given the broad-based information on journalism and media practice, but in terms of just that specialized reporting on how to perhaps talk about sexual reproductive health and rights, how to report on illicit financial flows, giving you the details. A lot of that is not done in media training in school. So what AMWIC does is we've noticed that gap. And now to bridge that gap, we do a lot of media capacity strengthening and media training, particularly the areas where we feel that women are less represented. Now, these are the technical subjects, the politics, business, because the rest of the other stories, the light stories, the lifestyle stories, our media houses actually they focus on that. So media development and membership. The second one is on women's economic empowerment. In a layman's language is pesa mkononi. Yes. When women are economically empowered, then you will see magic happen in this country.
True.
And so what we do is, again, using our networks and our platforms, we hold different discussions that speak to policy issues and how women can generally be economically empowered. Closely linked to that is on gender and governance. That is where decisions are being made. We want to be there on the decision-making tables. Up to this moment, you'll realize that our mandate goes beyond our membership. We have a responsibility to the women, the youth, and the children of this country. And therefore, we are very vocal when it comes to laws and policies that we feel will add value to the places and rooms where decisions are being made in this country. And so we've been quite vocal about the implementation of the 2/3 gender principle, which unfortunately has dragged almost 15-16 years down the lane. Not much has happened. So once again, we are very big on equipping women in leadership with skills on how they can advance their leadership, how can they can participate in the democratic space adequately and in a manner that can elevate the voices and amplify the issues of women in this country. Now we also do programmatic work around sexual reproductive health and rights. Now, on this, apart from just giving media visibility and doing media advocacy, AMWIC leads a very critical role. We have a coalition of media actors in this country called Kenya Media Sector Working Group that has everybody on board. The convener is Kenya Editors Guild, Kenya Union of Journalists, and of course we have the media regulator, the Media Council of Kenya, and many others, Kenya Correspondents Association, all the media actors. So AMWIC leads the Gender Committee, which has been given the responsibility to ensure that there is, among others, there's zero tolerance to sexual harassment happening in the country. And so when you talk about AMWIC in the media industry in Kenya, our role is almost synonymous to ensuring that there is no harassment, no form of sexual harassment happening in any media house across this country. And we've done quite a lot of interventions to that field. And then we also have a responsibility, which is perhaps one of the reasons that we're here today, which is on digital safety and security. And I'll explain why. Where we were with City Muga, and that is, should I mention?
Yes.
We were at the Standard Group for a couple of years. The mainstream media, I would say, is largely male-dominated.
Predominantly.
Yes. So what we see in most of our newsroom in this country and even in the region is that the gatekeeping and media leadership seems to be a reserve of men. Unfortunately, that is a fact. We just have to say it the way it is. So what we have seen is that media tends to reflect what is happening in society. And so when you see patriarchy in newsroom, then it's also a reflection of patriarchy in society. However, there is a small window where we feel like we can actually navigate or go around the status quo in the newsroom, and this is the digital platform. With a digital platform, me, Queen Tambori, can actually own a media house, because all I need to do is exploit the available digital platforms such as the YouTube and the social media. Now with this, it means that women can actually grow in their own respective ways without having to deal with the bureaucracies and the patriarchy that pre-exist in the mainstream media house. Perhaps I can even ask at NRG, how many women do we have? Not NRG, at Radio Generation. How many women do we have in leadership?
Actually, we have quite a... Wacha nisi brag sana, but wako.
In leadership.
The people who are making decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That I mean, then you're one in a million.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to some of them after the show.
I cannot wait. Yeah, so the digital platform is one of the resources that we guard selfishly, because other than giving employment to women in the media, we can still use these platforms to advance our campaigns. You remember some of the most popular campaigns in the history of the world, like the Me Too campaigns in Kenya. We had My Dress, My Choice. They were all enabled. Even the recent one on femicide, they were all enabled because of the digital platforms. And let me tell you, pitching for a story that is considered gendered in a mainstream media house is extremely difficult when we have other things happening in the country, politics, corruption. So when you sports. Exactly, sports. So when you want to pitch a story on sexual reproductive health and rights, and something big is happening in the world, it becomes a hard sell. But with the digital platforms, we have the freedom. We are our own bosses. We can use the same platforms to carry our content. And so it is such a big enabler, particularly to advance gender equality in the media. Unfortunately, it is also the same platform that is being used by the keyboard warriors to attack the women journalists and women in public spaces. Let me end there.
Okay.
Yes.
No, pause, not end.
Let me pause there. Let me pause there.
End. Now essentially
let me
just
pause
began the
there.
conversation.
Yes. No, maybe just to add one more thing. That Amweek is actually open to all the women in the media in this country. In fact, this is one thing that I always tell women media professionals, that if you're not a member of Amweek, then where do you belong? Who are you walking with this journey? Why don't you join us so that we can walk together? Someone once said that if you want to go fast, you walk alone. But if you want to go far, walk with others. Now, when we walk together and when you join Amweek, you stand to benefit, because other than just having a community of women where you can network and share your experiences, there's a lot of value addition that comes with joining Amweek, including serving at a very high level, sitting on boards. Amweek is actually overseen by a board which is elected. So we even get a taste of what national politics feels like when you join Amweek. It even gets heated, perhaps even more than the Kenyan politics.
How does one join?
To join, actually we have a link on our website, and that is www.amweek.org, where there's a link that women in the media can actually join. There are very simple instructions to be followed. There's a small commitment membership fee to be paid, which runs from the 1st of January to 31st of December.
Then you renew.
Then you keep renewing. But there's a lot of value addition, and I would urge all women in the media in this country to join Amweek.
Awesome. All right. So I want to get back to that point where you said that in many of these institutions, we do not have, in media houses rather, we do not have enough women, let me say that, enough women in leadership. Why do you think that is so? Apart from the fact that it's a patriarchal society.
Well, other than the fact that media mirrors society, as I'd mentioned, the other thing that the media environment does not offer is, of course, an enabling environment that can ensure that women grow career-wise. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
When I was at the Standard Group, I was in Standard Group for about maybe 12 years. But over the years, we'd not had even a basic facility such as a nursing room. And this is an institution that had hundreds of women as employees. So it took actually for one of the managers to go through the process of maternity for them to realize that we needed a nursing room. And so a nursing room was established, and of course the rest is history. At least now I can can confirm that by the time I was leaving, at least there was a functional nursing room. Now, apart from those facilities, we also do not have policies in place that mainstream gender. And when I talk about policies, in Kenya, for example, we have, in the constitution, we have affirmative action laws. When we know there's a problem, then there's a good way to tackle it. And for me, I always believe that when something is on paper, when something is on policy, it's easy to implement. So most media organizations do not have like policies that align women towards media management. Now, when you combine all these issues, there's no goodwill. There's lack of policies. There's yet another big problem that media houses experience, and this is globally, sexual harassment. Now, for example, media houses in Kenya.
Yes.
When you talk about sexual harassment,
yes,
it's not given visibility because the perpetrators of harassment are the supervisors. Who and what is the agenda?
Male?
Yes.
Okay.
So talking about it, reporting about sexual harassment has basically created an environment where women in media professionals actually they opt out of the industry. They go to seek other greener pastures, and they go to work in other industries where they feel like perhaps things are a little better and they feel safer. So they exit out of the media houses. In fact, there is statistics that shows that by the time women are graduating from media training institutions, the numbers are extremely high. I think there's something like 4 out of 5 are women. But when you look at their progression over time, then the numbers diminish because of all these issues that we are talking about.
Okay.
So they opt out, they're harassed, they move to other industries, and then we end up with very little representation. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair enough in terms of what you said, because I've also witnessed it, because I've been in several media houses as well. But now, what exactly is being done? Because, like, for example, in a previous media house that I worked for, there were very clear guidelines on number one, how to deal with sexual harassment and how to avoid it. Even for us now, the male staff members, we were not supposed to touch someone if they do not, whether male or female, they don't want to be touched. So history ya kushikanga tu mtu kwa mgonga tunatembea tujui mabesti ilisha hapo. And even just talking about your own personal issues, and especially issues that could be sexual in nature, that one was a no-no. As long as in the office, you cannot talk about it. So it helped to, first of all, create boundaries and also just to respect people and their opinion as far as these matters are concerned. But now, on a wider perspective and a wide spectrum, what is currently being done in that space? Because you're in media as well. What have you specifically as yourself done, or even as Amwik done, to ensure that a place like Radio Generation will observe those kinds of rules and regulations?
No, I'm actually happy to know that your previous employer had a working sexual harassment policy. I would say that is the exception, because majority of media organizations, based on a study that we did in 2023, shows that the prevalence rates of sexual harassment in the media are actually quite high. There's a study that was done in 2021 that showed 70% prevalence rate. That's 7 out of 10 in a layman's language. And that is actually one thing that informed the media actors came together, right? And we were all met in Manzoni, and we came up with a declaration. And that declaration is what led to even Amwik being given the role to ensure zero tolerance in the media industry. Now, just the other day, we did another survey, and about 65% of women journalists have experienced online harassment. And the most unfortunate bit is that when you look at the prevalence habits, those who were affected were the interns. Okay? So one thing I must say is that when it comes to the absorption of sexual harassment policies or policies in general that advocate for, that safeguard the space of women in the media, there seems to be a lapse between policy and implementation. That's a fact. In fact, I was going to ask you, were you made aware in terms of training of the existing policy in your media house? Is it how regularly?
Are you talking about here or other places?
Other places where the place where you mentioned. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, that one was regular. Let's say twice a year, like every 6 months.
That isn't regular.
Exactly.
Twice a year.
But it was around the same time we used to do the appraisals.
They thought it was regular. Twice a year is not regular.
Yeah.
For something that is considered to be problematic to the point where you have guidelines on how you should go about avoiding such things. Twice a year.
It was part of the appraisal process. So when you're going for your appraisals, I mean, in 6 months, I don't think you'll have forgotten guidelines that are guiding, unless
you will forget. This is the whole point, because in 6 months, so many things happen. Okay, let's just start with the subject of sexual harassment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most people will not want to talk about it.
Thank you.
Most people want to avoid it.
Yes.
And if you know a perpetrator and is male, you will not want to be involved. That's the best you can do. But how often do you hear of men reporting other men and saying, this guy here is behaving badly? They may not participate, but they will simply keep quiet. You can be an enabler simply by not
talking.
Yes, that's it.
Let me ask a question in that line of reporting a fellow colleague, for example. So I see a colleague doing whatever it is that they're doing, and then I go and report. So once I report this person and the victim, would like to assume that there's a victim, right?
A survivor.
The survivor.
Yeah,
the survivor doesn't even they are enjoying this so-called harassment.
How do you know they're enjoying this?
Kwanza kidogo nimeuliza tu swali ningependa kujibiwa.
Yes, sawa.
So I see a male counterpart or male whatever colleague behaving in a certain way with an intern, let's even say, and then I feel like apana, what is going on there is not right. Then I rush to the relevant authority, assuming this time it's the HR. I tell HR, there's a way I'm seeing Kevin, for example, behaving in a certain way. And then Kevin is called, and plus the survivor is called, and then the survivor is like, but Miss Jona Shidote, Kevoni boys, maybe we even grew together or we come from the same hometown, and I'm actually interested in this guy.
For me, the thing about sexual harassment, even before I tell you what we have done as Amwik, is that one, it's a power play issue. So the person who has more power, more often than not, is the perpetrator. Okay, and in most cases in our newsrooms, those are the supervisors, the decision makers. Now, the scenario you're talking about, if I were to analyze it from where I sit, it is basically a situation where there is lack of awareness in that media house. Because when you understand what sexual harassment is, it is unwarranted, unsolicited act of a sexual nature. Okay, and when it happens to me and I tell you, hey, I need you to stop, okay, and you continue, then it becomes a case of sexual harassment. Okay. However, there's a distinction between sexual harassment and romantic relationship. Okay, which also happens. It can happen in a work setting. Okay,
Quinta, so you can't have romantic harassment.
You can have romantic harassment. You can, I mean, you can. And for me, that's why I keep saying there seems to be a gap when it comes to just information around what sexual harassment is. And
actually, what I was asking, and I get what you're trying to say, there could be a romantic relationship ongoing, which is okay. But what I'm saying is, I can clearly see it is harassment. I can clearly see this lady is not liking what is happening to her. But once I report it, and then they are summoned, either the lady or even the guy who's been harassed. They say, no, me ajanisumbwa.
Okay, in some quarters it is called third-party harassment, where you are able to witness what is happening to someone, and it makes you comfortable. One way is what you're describing. The other way is, for example, when you're sitting next to your colleague and they're consuming content that you feel is making you uncomfortable, then you're also allowed to report. And therefore, for me, what matters is having a policy that guideline that outlines all these different scenarios and what the reactive measures look like. I'll give you an example. At the Association of Media Women in Kenya, we've done quite a lot of work around sexual harassment in partnership with different organizations, including one that we have even developed a model sexual harassment policy, particularly for the media organizations that do not have, that are starting from ground zero. So how does this help? One is this subject is not adequately resourced. Most media organizations, people will weigh between paying salaries and developing a sexual harassment policy. Okay? The other bit is that it is not popular, just like City had mentioned. It's not popular because most of the time the perpetrator of the harassment are the bosses. Okay? So in a situation where, like what happened maybe in my past employment history, where one person who was a middle manager who was accused of harassment, we followed the due process to the end and he was suspended. And in another case where a top boss was accused of harassment, basically what happened is walikata corner. There appeared to be a collusion between the departments that were supposed to do the investigation. And ultimately, what resulted is that we were told there was lack of evidence. And one thing about harassment is that the burden of proof lies on the survivor. And collecting evidence on sexual harassment is one of the toughest things, and that any journalist or anyone will have to deal with. Okay, so. And when it comes to reporting matters of sexual harassment, one of the things that is expected is you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are actually harassed. So how do you prove beyond reasonable doubt that it happened when the act happened and then you do not have a CCTV camera, you do not have
a photo, nothing,
picture, nothing. So what we always do, and it is included even in our model sexual harassment policy, is whenever it happens, document, keep. If somebody sends you a WhatsApp message, screenshot, keep it, because when it comes to
evidence
and justification, it is one of the toughest things to undertake. And the painful bit is that lack of evidence does not mean that harassment did not take place. So you can imagine if you're the survivor of harassment, it happened. Okay, and we've seen it. It even in the national parliament, we've seen it. It happened. It has affected you psychologically, mentally. You almost feel suicidal. You feel depressed. You're becoming. You're getting into the depressive state. Yet you do not have a sufficient amount of evidence to prove that it happened.
Are there instances where there has been mtu amekelewa?
It is possible. It is possible that there can be false allegation, and false allegation is addressed in our model sexual harassment policy. The thing is, it gives rights for the survivor. An adequate policy should give rights to the perpetrator as well, because they are still citizens of this country. Okay, so incidences of false accusation do happen. They could be driven by malice. They could be driven by anything. Like I said, when it comes to harassment, it is power play. Who has more power at the specific time? We have instances where managers will harass their juniors. We also have instances where juniors can actually end up harassing their managers. It has happened, but minimally. So at the end of the day, a policy needs to address everything, including false allegation. And the person who is responsible for false allegation should also face consequences for causing trouble to the alleged perpetrator.
This discussion often hits a brick wall because, one, every time it is had, it is assumed that the perpetrators are predominantly male, which in many cases it's true.
Yes.
And that women do not harass men. But the pervasive paternalistic culture that we have, in my opinion, is the brick wall. Because for many men, what we refer to, even from a legal perspective, as sexual harassment, Many men consider it fair sport. It's in fact they even wonder what on earth are these. They genuinely wonder what on earth you're complaining about. Now, if that is a thinking among men, and this cuts across men, irrespective of your station in wherever you are, can you imagine when it comes to now adjudicating on this matter? I'll give an example of what I mean. Every time you will hear cases of an individual who's had an issue and the matter goes to the police. It's a serious matter. It's an altercation. There's a lady who's been injured. You're being told, excuse me, please go. There is a culture that we have that unfortunately does not take such matters seriously. I'm saying this because when I talked about 6 months not being regular enough, you are not fighting an incident. You are fighting a pervasive cultural mindset that has been ingrained from the time you're very young. So it's not something you're just going to get to let go of, especially if you only encounter it twice a year. What you have been accustomed to is what will be predominant in the way your way of thinking. Because what then manifests as sexual harassment is generated in your head, in your brain. It's how you think, it's how you view things.
Like, for example, again, in previous media houses that I've worked in, you will find notice board on one of the walls, those rules zimewekwa pale, they've been blown up. It's a very huge, it's like a Michael Jackson poster, so you will not miss it. And sometimes it's even when you just walk into the building, if you're using an elevator, for example, it opens up. That's the first thing you see. When you walk into the offices, certain spaces have been plastered with that thing. And then, of course, in your employment contract, sometimes, you're given a 25-page contract. Majority of those contracts will also include a sexual harassment policy where you can either report or how to prevent yourself from being a perpetrator and a victim at the same time. So I mean, I understand it should be as regular as possible, especially in very large organizations.
No. It doesn't have to be a large organization. When you are confronted with a cultural mindset, this isn't something that's going to go away just because you wish it to go away. You only need to look at how in certain communities in this country women are perceived and how they're treated. Education doesn't wash that thing away. Somebody may be thoroughly academically educated, but their thinking is still entrenched in the village where they came from.
True.
And that's how they view life. When they speak very normally, but their thinking and their response towards women, my friend, it is at the village level, which never left the 19th century. So now, whatever you say makes sense. That visual impact. But this more or less requires a deliberate effort to have consistency in not talking, but ensuring that people go through a certain training and understanding of this thing. Because you can't get rid of that mindset in one session. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And maybe just to add, there's something that Siti brought up, which is very important, that, harassment is not necessarily a man and woman affair. It can happen between men and women. It can happen between
the same gender.
Men, women. And it can happen between supervisors and their juniors, and the vice versa is actually also true. But I would like to agree with him again when it comes to awareness and accountability. Awareness should be ongoing, okay? You remember how this country kept us updated regarding the COVID-19 issues. Matters
daily.
It was on a daily basis. And trust you me, people took all the measures we needed to ensure that we stay safe. So this matter of sexual harassment, in my opinion, it is a matter of life and death. It is, we have to put in strategic, necessary efforts to ensure that it is a discussion that does not get out of our mind. It is a news agenda.
Yeah.
Okay? The same way we report about corruption in this country, the same way we report about politics in this country, is the same weight and the same energy we need to put when it comes to tackling issues that affect our working environment. And one of them is sexual harassment. The other bit is on accountability. once you have the policies in place, what measures are being taken to ensure that we are able to follow through, that these policies and these laws are implemented? Because when it comes to matters sexual harassment, you mishandle one case and millions of other survivors decide to go back into their corners and they cultivate the culture of silence. What we are trying to do is we are encouraging people to speak up. But when one case is mishandled, do you think the survivors will have confidence in the system?
Of course not.
If, for example, our national leaders are being exposed in broad daylight to mismanagement of sexual harassment cases, what will happen to you, a mere mortal? Yes. So that means that we are not safe. We are not safe in our media houses. We are not safe in this country, because we have to be very strategic about ensuring that we create enabling environment, particularly for our employers. Media people, media owners, media stakeholders need to be accountable for their employers.
But you
for
know,
their own.
The fourth estate is peculiar in this sense.
Yeah.
Its very existence exudes with power. But it's not just power, as in raw power that is exhibited in the relationship the media has, say, with politicians. The only institution politicians seem to fear. But it's also with what it does to people who work in it. It gives you an almost out-of-body experience, in that you become someone that is referred to as a celeb. It's something I have not fully understood, but I'm told it exists. There are people who are called celebs, okay?
See to any celeb.
It doesn't make me understand it better just because you've said it. Okay? But the thing is this. When one considers their life and what it is that they would like to be seen as, and something goes wrong, the likelihood is that you will keep quiet. The ecosystem of a media house can be very pervasive, but by and large, it'll be more difficult to talk about it in that particular environment than very many others, because it is actually very unique. We work in the media, and you worked in the media house, so you will know it's actually a very unique setup. There is none other that you can compare it with. You can't compare it with working in a hospital or in a school. You actually can't, simply because of the dynamics. You are more or less like a religious organization. You get to meet everybody, you know everybody, and worse still, we know a lot of things about very many people. All these things, when you mix them, something goes wrong within the media house, it'll be clamped on. It's not written anywhere, but it will be understood that thing is not going anywhere. Okay? If we can keep quiet about things that we know, because either you've been instructed to keep quiet, or somebody has spoken to you the way Kenyans speak to each other. I'm just painting a picture so that one understands the dynamism of a media house and why it is very difficult. And even in countries that you refer to as advanced, the problem is when the survivor is a woman, my friend, you start on the back end, on the back foot, because you need to prove. And you're thinking, wait a moment, I'm the one who's been harmed if I was female. And I am the one that the deck is stacked against you from the get-go. So how do you get to a position where there's equity when it comes to justice? Remember I told you the other day, justice is aspirational. Forget the law. So the discussions around it gets even, should I say, more spicier when you now say that this very tool that we use to make our business what it is has also turned out to be a platform where women now are facing the same problem. Now this one is even more difficult to handle.
True story. Yeah, you know the reality, City, is, I feel like it is a case of, what would we say the opposite of, you cannot blow your own trumpet. Yeah, we in media we do not blow our own trumpets. We almost shut them up. And like you've mentioned, when you look at how, forget about the physical environment. The physical environment we have, from the discussions we have had, they have proven to be unsafe, particularly for the women journalists and women media professionals. Now we have this other tool, which we feel like it could have been are potentially extremely beneficial. It has actually. I mean, it has changed the whole digital ecosystem. If you ask me, many years ago, it would have taken me years to even come to your studios, which, by the way, looks very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. But because of technology, all I needed to do was just go online and speak to Julie, and Julie brought me here safely. Okay? In fact, brought me up to the gate. So technology is proving to be a double-edged sword. On one hand, we have seen a lot of progress, honestly speaking. I'm a beneficiary of technology, and I think it would be wrong for me to not to say that. And somebody once said, I think he's an author, he's called Brian Sol. It's a quote I like saying, that the good thing about social media is that it gives everyone a voice. And the bad thing about social media is that it gives everyone a voice. And this is the catch-22 where we are at, particularly for the women in the media, because this platform that has been beneficial for us is also proving to be extremely hazardous to us. These are women journalists, women in public and prominent spaces, politicians, lawyers, and women human rights defenders. The digital platform is really giving us grief, and I'm glad that whatever we are going through has been recognized by international bodies, because this year the theme for IDEU was Chat GBV. We are talking about gender-based violence, 11 years since the UN resolution. For me, it is a big deal. Yeah, at least now we are recognizing that gender-based violence is happening in the media, and now gender-based violence is also happening on the digital platforms. And now when we start having these discussions, then I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, we'll perhaps come up with some good solutions. Yeah.
Let's talk about AI-facilitated gender-based violence.
Yeah.
How, first of all, what is that?
Right.
Yeah. So we call it technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Let me just say that from the get-go, we cannot even agree on the accurate definition.
Okay.
Some people call it online harassment. Some people call it cyberbullying. Some people, I mean, it is an animal that has not really been defined.
Okay.
But the UN came up with a definition, and they call it acts of violence that are facilitated or that perpetuated or assisted because of technology. Okay. Now, technology, we are talking about phones, the digital spaces, the websites, So any acts of violence that are assisted because of perhaps the qualities of the technological platforms, the fact that when you can operate anonymously, okay? So all those things, they are associated, they are called technology-facilitated gender-based violence. And maybe what I can say is, one, it is a strategy, okay? It is a strategy that is weaponized to silence vocal people on the online platforms, okay? And it takes the forms of threats, intimidation, falsified information, all of that to ensure that the people do not enjoy their digital rights. Unfortunately, again, the fact that the digital space has been quite beneficial to women, the people who are receiving the short end of the stick once again are women. And let me just put a disclaimer there.
Okay.
When you talk about technology-facilitated gender-based violence, when you talk about gender, we are not referring to women. Okay? Gender are just roles that are given to us because of the societies where we come from.
Okay.
Okay? But most of the time when you talk about gender-based violence, people tend to think that we are only referring to
women.
No. It's just that the reason why that is coming out that way, because the ones who are highly affected right now are women. Physically, we're talking about 1 in 3. 1 in 3 women have gone through some form of gender-based violence. In Kenya, the numbers are even higher. For men, they say 1 in 10. 1 in 10. But because men do not speak up, maybe those numbers could even go higher. When it comes to TFGBV, Amwik actually did a research, again, focusing on journalists, lawmakers, women human rights defenders, women in the limelight generally.
Yeah.
That was last year in 2024. Now, from the research, 50% of those we spoke to had actually encountered some form of TFGBV. Global data is a bit high. UNESCO has been doing biannual reports on TFGBV, and their data shows about global data is about 73%, but in Kenya they're talking about 75.4%. So again, 7 in 10. Amwik had done another survey earlier on, which almost correlate with the same results, where we're talking about 7 out of 10. So this data is really worrying because there seems to be an overlap between online violence and offline violence. It's just that now with technology, the rates are going extremely high because of the digital tools. For example, if I have been abused online, not once, okay? So anytime, for example, an image of yours appears online, the digital tools, for example, retweeting and resharing on different platforms, makes it move at extremely fast speed, okay? And from our research, we also realized that the primary platforms where abuse seems to be perpetuated are the ones that are being used by the elderly folk, like Siti Muga and myself. The WhatsApp, the Facebook, you know, WhatsApp forums. There's a lot of abuse that happens there, and most of the time, what we experience is intimate partner abuse. It happens on the online platform, but because you cannot, how will you tell the world that I've been abused on WhatsApp? Or my significant other is sending me this or sending me that. So WhatsApp, Facebook, X, if you look at our survey, which is available on our website, of course, were some of the platforms where TFGBV were perpetuated. And of course, in terms of the different forms of technology facilitated gender-based violence, the one that was at the top was the image-based abuse. You know, pretty much people sending you images or using your images without your consent, sharing your intimate images, or people sharing intimate images that you've not solicited for. Okay, so we've seen a lot of that. There is defamation, people giving false information about you. There is doxing, sharing information publicly, which we experienced during the anti-finance bill, where majority of media professionals, their contact information was shared on the online platforms. Wakasalimiwa kabisa. Okay, so there's a lot around TFGBV, body shaming, cyber stalking, cyber bullying. It is all over the place. Yes.
Does this not raise the question?
Yes.
What is our biggest influencer? Because there was a traditional thinking that your background and your upbringing more or less formed you and you became a certain type of person. Now, did your survey look and find out as to the people who consume this particular space? What sort of age group are they in? Or is it just everybody, since it's a free-for-all? Why I'm asking the question is because what the very entity that influences you the most is what will determine how you behave. We argue sometimes that we can't escape our upbringing. If you grew up in an environment where people trade insults on a regular basis as a child, you'll find the moment a child learns to speak, they spew insults. In fact, you can look at his mouth and you wonder, God Almighty, what on earth is this little child doing? But that's what they've heard. They probably have no idea what it is they're actually saying, but that's what they've heard, and so that's how they speak. When people get to the point where I've heard a lot about this, and I've even seen some, and you wonder, What sort of mind do you need to have to be able to put such things in the public domain and even to utter the things that people utter? I think you understand what I'm asking. Is it that the traditional influences in our lives have sort of like gone out of the way, and that we now have new influences, and that's what pushes this conversation that we often see in social media?
Perhaps you can look at it this way. Did we have disinformation before the advent of technology?
Yes.
We did, isn't it?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. In fact, the other day, we were in Nakuru to mark International Day to End Impunity Against Journalists. And I was giving a presentation around whether with the advent of technology, press freedom has diminished. And one of the illustrations I gave was very basic, which is the story of, I don't want to call her the infamous Wangu wa Makere. And Wangu wa Makere, I don't know whether movie is Gen Z.
No.
It's not.
Millennial
backbencher.
Niko pale tu. Mimi ni millennial mzee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Wangu, if her story was to be retold with today's lens, in today's setting, because I'm looking at the controversies that surrounded her leadership. One is the fact that she was perhaps the only notable woman during the colonial era in Kenya. She was, I'm told, by the history records, she was one of the most ruthless tax collectors. She was a headman, perhaps the only one during that era. The way she got that position is because of there was an extramarital affair between her and the chief during that time, and the chief wanted to word got to the husband. She was also married to a polygamous man, a heavily polygamous man. So in order to appease Wangu's husband, the chief decided to offer the position of the headman, which Wangu decided, no, the husband declined, and then Wangu was offered, and she said, yes, I'm going to do it. And so these are the kind of stories that media would like to describe she went against all odds to get that role. And ultimately, because of her ruthlessness, in some quarters they say that she used to sit on men, the ones who refused to pay taxes. And one time she was invited to the village dance, and the village grapevine said she must have overdid it, and she danced and exposing some parts of her body. And so that was the beginning of her downfall. So she had to resign. So I tried to imagine how that story would look like in today's era, how Nairobian would have milked it dry, how different media platforms would have run with it. And what point am I driving at? That disinformation did not begin today. Disinformation has been part and parcel of our systems. Only that the channels vary. Back in the day, there were perhaps village gossips that would run around with the information, spreading lies and spreading disinformation. And then what has happened? Okay, one of the factors that has not changed is that disinformation highly disfavored women, always, even back in the day. So what has happened is that with technology, disinformation has remained the same, but the tools of disinformation is the reason why we are now talking about technology facilitated gender-based violence. To answer your question, if there is one thing that we really need to deal with as a country, is our cultural beliefs. Some of them are extremely harmful. Okay, when it comes to dealing with very critical issues in this country, including gender-based violence. If we can get down to deal to the mind of the patriarchal nature, I'm glad that right now we have men who are born again, quote unquote. They have seen the light. There are men who are very open-minded. There are men who are willing to understand that there is good culture and then there is bad culture. There is culture that is going to support us and there is culture that is going to break us down. So when we're talking about gender-based violence in all its form, whether it is femicide, whether it is technology-facilitated gender-based violence, whether it is the physical violence, whether it is emotional, economic violence, then we need to get down to having dialogues. We need to break down these patriarchal attitudes, mindset in this country for us to progress. Otherwise, there is nothing that Facebook or TikTok will do to change your mind as City or as Otieno or as Kipruto that will make you understand that beating a woman or insulting a woman or using a woman's body part to shame her is wrong. If you do not understand it from a cultural perspective, it really has. It takes. In fact, one of the recommendations that we gave in our report is having multisectoral approaches. The media alone cannot manage TFGBV. The government alone will not manage TFGBV. And therefore we need the civil society, we need the media, we need international governmental organizations. We need each and everybody in this conversation to ensure that whatever we are propagating online is a representation of who we are.
Okay.
You know, it's only that with the online platforms, we have the ability to hide behind the platforms. We can create a false account and express what we deeply feel. You know, most of them are culturally driven.
Quinta,
Yes.
we have actually come to the end of the show.
No.
We are overrunning, but in 10 seconds, cybercrime bill, is it a blessing or a curse as far as what you're talking is concerned?
It's a blessing. It is a blessing and a curse.
Okay.
Yes.
Wacha tutakuita siku ingine tuongee maneno. But thank you so much. This is where we come to a close. Don't go too far. Here's the news with Winnie Maganga.
Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Parliament has called upon to increase funding for security infrastructure in the country. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen stressed that sustained investment in roads, housing and communication systems is key to lasting peace and stability. Appearing before the Senate on Wednesday to respond to questions on security and national administration, Murkomen reaffirmed the government's commitment to modernizing the security sector.
And there are about 6 or 7 key roads in that belt, Mr. Speaker, that when we get the resources, and it's massive resources that are required, we need about 3 to 4 billion to just open up roads without even tarmacking them. And Mr. Speaker, that is the challenge. It is budgetary allocation, and you saw in my summary that we are working on it. And I'm happy that we are, at least I have suggested that let's do one road to Mogogodo Forest, for example, and that will sort out one of the problems. Do another one to Malaso.
Police in Changamwe, Mombasa, have arrested a suspected notorious criminal believed to be behind a series of violent robberies in the area. Stephen Omondi, also known as Omosh, was arrested while officers were on patrol in the BBC area. He is accused of carrying out the attacks alongside accomplices while armed with a panga. He was arraigned in court on Wednesday on 2 counts of robbery with violence as police launch a manhunt for his accomplices who remain at large. A Nairobi court has faulted the prosecution for delaying a 2021 murder case in which 3 suspects have spent more than 4 years in remand without trial. Justice Alexander Muteti criticized the lack of seriousness in the matter, noting the investigating officer has repeatedly failed to appear in court. The judge issued a final directive that the trial must begin on December 3rd and 4th, 2025, warning that no further adjournments will be granted.
I will require these 3 men in the third. Officer, you listen. I have issued production order for these 3. I have noted when we issue last orders for last adjournment, something happens. It's a trend that I have noted. The accused persons are not produced. The witnesses are not there. So let that not happen. On 3rd, these people must come before me. We shall proceed with that. Okay?
My Lord,
tell him what I have said.
Agriculture and Livestock Development Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has called for harsh punishment for individuals selling fake seeds. The CS says such individuals should face treason charges for endangering national food security. Speaking in Nyeri during the launch of modern Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service facilities, Kagwe urged Parliament to pass laws that classify the sale of counterfeit seeds and uncertified nursery materials as treasonable offences.
Fake seeds are a national security issue and should be handled as such. Those who are selling fake seeds should be held as treasonable individuals. It's treason, really, because what happens when people in the country don't have food? You all know around the world what happens. So for me, selling fake seeds is a very, very serious issue and should be handled as such.
The United States Embassy in Tanzania has cautioned its citizens to remain vigilant and avoid large gatherings. This even as calm gradually returns to Dar es Salaam after days of civil unrest. In a security advisory issued on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, the embassy confirmed that the government had lifted the curfew in Dar es Salaam, but noted that a heavy security presence and movement restrictions continue in several parts of the country. The advisory warned that while the situation in the capital has improved, checkpoints and patrols remain active. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
Sports on Radio Generation.
Good morning, I'm Samuel Otieno. Alejandro Garnacho ensured Chelsea returned from Azerbaijan with a point as he came off the bench to equalize in their 2-2 draw away to Karabakh in the Champions League on Wednesday. The former Manchester United forward fired a sweetly struck left-foot effort into the net after 53 minutes. Brazilian teenager Estevão put the visitors ahead with a neat finish in the 16th minute. But after a slow start, Karabakh came alive in the noisy Tofik Baramov Republican Stadium. Leandro Andrade steered home a rebound in the 29th minute to cancel out Chelsea's lead, with the match finally ending 2-2. Chelsea have 7 points, same as Karabakh. Inter Milan and AC Milan moved one step closer to a new stadium of their own on Wednesday. This is after completing the purchase of the iconic San Siro, which is set for demolition. The two Serie A clubs announced the signing of the deed of sale with the municipality of Milan, little more than a month after city approval for the acquisition of land on which the stadium sits. Nicknamed football's La Scala, San Siro is one of the world's most recognizable stadiums and the longtime home of Inter and AC Milan, who between them have been crowned European champions 10 times. And that's the truth on sports. I'm Samuel Otieno.
Sports on Radio Generation. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast, your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Welcome back. 9 minutes past 8 o'clock. How are you doing? This is Radio Generation on 88.8 FM in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa, radiogeneration.co.ke. That's where we are online. And you can also find us on our social media spaces at Radio Gen KE across all of them. How are you doing? Well, I know you're doing well because I can see some of you wanasema mko hapa hivi bright and early, for example. Nobody is saying some people are so daring. How does one reach a decision to impersonate a student to be admitted to sit for an examination? Bro, hizi vitu zinafanyikanga bwana. People impersonate other people all the time, and they even go and sit for exams on their behalf. Then we have Nobat War. Whatever is happening to same person. Whatever is happening to Kenyans living in Tanzania is why I've never thought of relocating abroad. Look at what is currently happening in South Africa. Expatriates are the problem, or are a problem, according to that particular post. And then Yasin Mahmed anakuuliza CT, mbona ulitoka huko Mombasa Road?
There is a tradition in media that I didn't know of until I started working in media.
Yes.
People move.
Yeah.
It's not really complicated.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's called natural career progression.
Yes, it's not anything negative. It's people move. In fact, what is perhaps even most interesting and intriguing.
Yes, sir.
One leaves one institution, goes around, and it probably eventually ends up in that same institution again at some point.
Yes.
So it's not unusual at all. Yes.
Yeah. Sawa. So Yasin, I hope umepata jibu. But anyway, it's time for us to have a different conversation. So wherever you are right now, I hope you've taken a pen and a paper. Yes, because we're about to talk to the CEO of Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association. And the conversation is around the scramble for office versus delivery. And do youthful legislators have the spine? Well, karibu sana Anthony Buluma, how are you doing? A very good morning to you, and we'll start by asking you that question as you say good morning. First of all, habari yako?
Mzuri sana.
It's been this is the second time you're here now.
Actually my first time.
Really?
Yeah, I missed our last time.
We didn't host you before?
Not quite, probably in a different setup.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Karibu sana.
But it's good to be here.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Mimi niko salama.
Yeah. Na mzee wa nguvu pale.
Wajua jamaa side gig yake is a prophet. Yes. Watu wengi hawajui.
Umesema mimi ni prophet.
Wewe ni prophet. So when he says ulikuwa umeonekana before, he's talking about the future. It means utarudi.
But you know, we are all prophets, funny enough.
Yeah.
Our origin is prophetic because we existed before we exist. So sometimes our thoughts run before our actions.
Tutamuuliza huyu jamaa nyuma ya tent kanisa gani anaenda, sio?
Si anaweza tuambia tu sasa unaendanga kanisa lakini.
Wewe mazee usijibu swali, utajibu.
Naendanga kanisa lakini si kanisa gani.
Nonetheless, tunakukaribisha huku kwetu.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Yeah.
Swali, youthful legislators, do they have the spine?
Yeah, they do. First of all, thank you for having me, and just to point out that I'm very privileged to be the CEO of 60 young members of parliament in this current parliament. This number has been going up since 2013, save for the parliament of the 60s when Kenya gained independence.
Yes.
That's the only time Kenya witnessed a situation where you had a significant number of young leaders elected into office. Over those, since the 63 all the way up to 2013, we've never had young parliamentarians. We've had young in the context of 45 and above. In fact, it's only in 205 that you had a few.
45 is considered young.
As at 205. I'm taking you through a journey.
Meaning comparatively,
yes.
Yes.
So as at 205, there were just a handful of them. But 2013 witnessed a significant increase in that number. We had 37. Because of the 37 doing what they were supposed to do, we've had we increased to 47, and now we are at 60. Because I've been CEO since 2014.
Right.
And the reason why I would say that is because of exactly the question you're asking. Do they have the spine? A good chunk of them have the spine. And I'll put context to my response.
Okay.
Recently, just last year, we had an occasion to host the President of Kenya when we were launching our strategic plan. I think it's the first time a president attends to officiate the launch of a strategic plan for a parliamentary caucus, because we are a caucus in parliament.
Okay.
And in his remarks, and I think it's out here, one of the things that he picked out was he singled out some of my members and called them out because they had texted him, challenging him about, different positions, policy propositions that he had given. And so he called them out and he was like, good people, like he likes saying, when your principles conflict with your party position, what would you do?
When your personal principles
conflict with your party position, what would you do? So his guidance was abandon your principle, go for your party position. That was before the finance bill.
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
Sorry, he said abandon what?
Your personal principles, go with the party
position. It's on record. It's not something I'm making up.
I just wanted to understand.
You're trying to absorb that information.
I'm absorbing it and then I'm going to think of what the logic behind it. But please continue.
So what I'm driving at is just to demonstrate the spine in the young parliamentarians. We launched our strategic plan just before the finance bill was voted in or voted out, whichever. But a good chunk of the members who attended that launch and heard him say that and belonged to his party went on and defied. They abandoned the party position, went with their personal principles and what the people were saying. I think that's the spine you're asking. And that's the spine that is well engraved in most of the young parliamentarians. They walk into a space where you had aspirations, you had, your own fantasy, your own worldview. But when you get there now, you begin to encounter realities. There's something called party hierarchies, who's the owner of the party, what is the position of this owner. Those realities dawn on you. So you need spines for you to actually defy the odds. And we have seen young parliamentarians demonstrate a great deal of leadership over the last two parliaments that has provided some sort of Solomonic point of view in leadership. So I would straightforward say that they have the spine. They have what it takes.
Yes.
They have been exposed. Technology is our advantage because we have lived in an age that most of the senior politicians have not.
Yes.
We work and interact with Kenyans through technology every other day. So they get to pick the pulse of the country firsthand, unlike their predecessors. So I think these are some of the things that actually build up on their spine for them to be able to pull through. When it comes to delivery, I think the rankings are out here. Top 5, top 10, predominantly young members of parliament. I think they're getting the script right. They're understanding the assignment, and most of them are actually delivering. Even when you talk about CDF management, and I'm not saying this just to praise them, but just to basically put up a case for young Kenyans. I think young Kenyans are coming out because they feel disappointed with the leadership that we've been inheriting over the years, and most of them are saying, why don't you give us a chance? Because our worldview could be different. They say insanity is repeating the same thing and hoping for different results. Young people are saying, we've been repeating the same thing. If you notice during the protest, what kept coming up was, our parents are the ones who brought us to the quagmire we are in. So next election, we will actually be even, taking away their IDs because we don't want to repeat a mistake. So I'm putting up a case for young Kenyans because I have witnessed firsthand, when given an opportunity for leadership, what they can do, despite the drama and of course the age factors. So many things come into play. But the bigger picture is that young people are proving themselves.
What is the age of the youngest MP right now?
20. By now she's 27.
Okay.
Yeah. That should be Njeri Maina, the women rep for Kirinyaga. Yeah.
So these young parliamentarians, as you said, they present a different worldview. How are the older parliamentarians taking that? Are they accepting it? Are they resisting it? How are they taking it?
Of course, there's resistance across the age brackets. I wouldn't say that it's just the older parliamentarians or the young. Politics is a space of competition. It's a contest of ideas, ideologies, and what have you. So that is always there. You know, when you present a new way of thinking, you'd always be confronted with resistance.
Yeah.
And that's normal. And then there's also the question of the political culture we are in. You know, there are people you're walking in, you're trying to give ideas, and they're like, Chief, you're just a newbie. You don't understand how these things are done. Relax. You know, there's the question of ranking members in parliament.
Yeah.
So you just came in the other day and you feel like you can teach us new tricks, you know. So those resistance are there. But I'm also proud of how the young parliamentarians are actually doing it. You can actually pick that by the example I just gave of what the president actually said. They had the option of conforming. You know, when a president pronounces himself in your presence and calls your name, and it's like, Chief, this is the position, this is how it works. And you know, by that time, he had given them an account of his history in leadership and what has worked for him and what never worked for him. And then he qualifies it with that statement. I mean, you'd easily be obligated to bow to what he says.
Why would you be obligated?
Because somebody has just given you the political history.
That's his life path, yes.
Correct. And that's why I'm saying it would have been a temptation easily for young parliamentarians to fall for, but they opted not to. And that's why I'm saying the spine is there. It's just pushing it.
I want us to talk about this spine that you speak of. Do these young parliamentarians belong to political parties?
Correct.
Okay. The political parties we have in Kenya, do they have any ideologies?
I think some do, some don't.
Which ones have? Like which one?
Like ideally, ODM's ideology was centered around Raila and his philosophical...
That's not an ideology.
It's debatable.
It's not. You see, political parties as we know them are, should we say, they form themselves around a certain framework of what it is that they believe in with regards to how it is they hope to manage a country should they gain power. And they have many descriptions. You could social democrat, capitalist democrat, whatever, liberal whatever it is you want to call it. And then they have structures which explain how it is they want to go about it. Some will favor big government, a presence in everything that one does. Some will be middle of the road. Some will prefer free enterprise or capitalism as we know it and give it precedence over everything. That's the question I'm asking. Do our political parties have such frameworks that they make statements and call them ideologies? A statement is not an ideology. Yes. Do we have political parties in this country that have ideologies that you can say, you know, these fellows stand for this? Because they all say more or less the same thing. They all talk about change. They all talk about development. And right now, when you have an election round the corner, they all spend their time telling us what this government hasn't done, as though we don't live in this country. we live here, so we know. Yes.
But some, going by your definition, for example, when Ngilu was in charge of SDP, that was Social Democratic, I think, Progress of People's Party. It's a name, yes. But that, if we were to go with your definition, then Ngilu was a social democrat.
No, she wasn't.
I'm just saying that if we go by that definition that you've just given
so
us.
If then we are members of ODM,
LDP
walikuwa orange. I mean, come on, man.
Ngoja kidogo.
Yes.
LDP ilikuanga Liberal Democratic Party. Na si LDP ilikuanga ya Raila back in the day before ikue ODM. Before, I mean, afunguzi zingine zikakuja kwa ODM. So if we were to go by that and we go by Railaism, would probably say that Railaism is Liberal Democratism.
That's what we call conjecture.
Yes.
I am asking about principles that then follow these formations.
So whether they have principles or not, it perhaps is the question.
Yeah.
You see, no, it isn't. The parties that were referred to by the names that these were referred to existed in the West. Social Democratic Party, Liberal Party, they existed. And there was a philosophy behind that particular naming. And you understood it in the way they went about their business. Okay, there's a reason why I'm asking this question. When you have young parliamentarians and you look at the situation that we find ourselves in this country, we look at the economic situations and you look at the older leadership and the way they keep running around chasing their tails. When young people belong to political parties and they have a spine, How does that spine work for them when it comes to formulating and changing? Because these young people are educated, they are knowledgeable, they are not just your run-of-the-mill mwananchi, they know things, they've gone to school. Does this spine manifest itself in how it is they work within the parties to make these parties organs that can actually genuinely bring about change? Not talk about how to get elected, because that's what our political parties do.
I quite agree, and I concede that we have a challenge as a country when it comes to the question of, manifesting political ideologies. I mean, we talk about it casually on the roads when you're doing campaigns, but nothing born out of principle. And unfortunately, when you get into the political space, because I was an aspirant last election, you walk into a space that is already defined. So the rules are there, everything looks very clear. And you are interacting with a populace that also dances to that particular tune. So it's a challenge that has been there, but maybe just to give a heads up, I think in confidence, so to speak, quite a lot is happening behind the curtains. Young people have realized the trap they are in, and many of them are beginning to think otherwise, like if it means creating your own vehicle that is deeply rooted with an ideology that is well entrenched. Those are conversations that are ongoing, and I would tell you, by next election, it will be a significant battle between the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things. And the new way would have what you're talking about. What is the ideology that defines us, Because if you hear most of these young parliamentarians, they will tell you, my members, they will tell you that the tragedy we are in is we walk into this space, we really have our own way of thinking, but we are compelled, by the old guard. You have to toe the line. Towing the line means that you have to play by our rules, which are not ideologically grounded, but they have realized the mistakes. So the correcting those mistakes means the brothers and sisters who are behind us must not fall into the same trap. So we're going to create our own vehicles that are deeply ideologically entrenched. And then we will invite young Kenyans, because they have already shown interest in, new way of doing things, to be part and parcel of that journey. And then hopefully we will begin to cultivate a positive culture of transforming this country that is ideologically entrenched. That's my hope.
Anthony, look at how it is in this country when political leadership have not followed what is considered the norm. Individuals, the beneficial changes that we've seen. If you look at the independence of African nations, there are some who took a very adversarial attitude towards the colonial masters, all right? And somehow they kept fighting even after they got independence. Jomo Kenyatta famously said, "We will forgive, but we will not forget." There was an accommodation, meaning a transition period then was ushered in, where Africans who were learned, educated, could take over jobs from people who had been doing them before. That transition has helped enormously. Let's fast forward this thing to the handshake at independence, KANU KADU. Unusual, but it morphed into something negative later on, because KANU then became, in all manner of descriptions, a dictatorship that was what it was. But the unusual thing that then happened, we had a president called Moi who seemed to have been willing to change, something that very many of his ilk on this continent didn't, and some literally died on the job. You fast track it now to situations in 2008. All right, I've moved forward, but I'm going to go back, and you find a situation where the country is actually tearing itself apart. Two individuals who represent the protagonists go to The Hague, they do something that wasn't anticipated. Now, this is where the unusual nature of things happen, and they shake hands. They end up in the most unlikely positions. One is president, one is the deputy. Unlikely. Because one couldn't say, these were indicted. Essentially, you're saying, we voted for criminals. But they were set free, so they were not really criminals, but they were before they were set free. Then, you look at the Orange Democratic Party. Before it was, you had NDP. NDP was formed when the person who now formed Orange Democratic Party left a certain party that was there. It was called Ford Kenya. He left. He was to leave other associations later. He came into an understanding with Kibaki, he left. I'm simply saying there are things in the intervening time that may not be pleasant, but the outcomes that we see that have made this country appear and in reality is progressive is people doing unusual things, not following a certain script that has been followed before. And given the power in terms of numbers that your generation has, they have no excuse.
Yeah, that's true.
The language you speak will be understood by the people of your generation much easier than the language I speak. And so if there was a time for change, it is now, because that language you speak, they'll get you. You will say it, they'll understand. I have this challenge for young parliamentarians. It has something to do with something very small. It's called campaign funding. Do the young parliamentarians understand that what we have entrenched with regards to our politics and money is what is actually killing us? And that is something we must move away from. Are they willing to move away from that culture?
Yes, they are. I mean, we have quite a number over the years who've been elected against all odds. You know, Salasia, if you know Salasia was, for lack of a better phrase, a broke individual. Yeah, you know, he didn't have all that would actually get him. Yeah, he didn't have money, but he understood the space he was in and literally leveraged on all the other advantages he had. He had the advantage of time and energy, you know, to move around Mumias East day and night, you know, interacting with voters one-on-one for them to get him elected. And before Salasia, we had the likes of John Paul Mwirigi, who's now serving his second term. We had the likes of Kinoti Gatobu, a young Kenyan who had no opportunity in terms of finances, but had just graduated from the university. So he opted not to dwell on what I don't have, but you know what he was blessed with, and that was education. And he went back to his constituency in Buri, and he started offering free tuition to young kids.
Yes.
And as a result, the parents of those kids rewarded him.
He took it. He did one even better.
Yes.
He took, you know, these past examination papers that people had. Okay?
Collect them.
He collected, read them, and made sure that people got hold of them. The results of the children was something that parents appreciated.
Yes.
Yes.
And they said now there's leadership.
Yes.
So the young parliamentarians are actually willing to, you know, go against those odds and basically prove to Kenya that we can have a leadership that is devoid of manipulation because of finances. And I agree with you. That's a tragedy we have as a country, because when you get into power, if all you used was finances to get you there, not ideas, not anything, then all you're going to do is business. You'll be transactional. You'll be a transactional leader. When you're called upon and told, climb down on this, there's an incentive, you'll do exactly that. But one of the reasons why also a good chunk of these young parliamentarians are defiant is because there were a good chunk of them that made into parliament they didn't make it on the account of, you know, somebody's money or anything like that. Look at the likes of Babu Owino. Why are Kenyans listening to him as at now? It's because he defied. There are things he opted not to follow. Out of principle, he said, we were elected into opposition, so you'll not see me take sides with government. My opinion would be contrary out of objectivity. And he stood by that. And he's a young member of parliament.
Is it not possible?
Mukunji of Embu.
Yeah.
Elected on a government ticket, you know, as MP for Manyata. He hosted the president last year because he's my chair.
Yeah.
Days later, he goes and says, my people do not quite agree with your position on the finance bill. And he was actually vindicated when the Kenyans went out to the street. And he said, after my interaction with them, they told me they do not agree with this position. So I will vote based on their interest. So it means that there's a new crop of leadership that is coming up that needs to be given airtime.
Yes.
That needs to be given platforms for Kenyans to interact with this new way of doing things. Because again, the problem we are in sometimes is the people, again, the citizens. It's not always about the leaders, because it's also the leaders supply the demands of the citizens. So if the citizens keep demanding, you just need to give us handouts, you just need to give us this. So sometimes it becomes a leadership tragedy.
Anthony, no. Then
I don't know how many, whether you've participated in a campaign, because I did, and I'm being very honest with you. When I walked in there, Nambale constituency,
That's
my
why you
thoughts
are
were,
contesting.
yes, that's why I was contesting. My thoughts were very fresh. In fact, in many occasions, I would get feedback from the people saying, "You talk so well, but let's give you next time." I asked them why. It's because at some point, you're not greasing. You're not greasing, because me, I would walk into
by greasing you mean wapati chai
or sort.
He's not lubricating the system.
Me, I have no problem with that. When I have, I bless, because like I said, I'm a Christian. So my giving is not entirely to bribe you, but to okay, you've walked into my space, you're saying probably maybe kidogo pale nyumbani hakuna kanyama. So nasema okay, ile iko tugawane.
Okay.
But I kept making my point clear that please don't stop at the point of nyama. In fact, my campaign was centered around two school of thinking. I told them where politics ends, leadership must begin. Because politics is a season. Or I actually relate politics to the campaign season. When you're going around, having to pull whatever drama. But after you've elected somebody into office, the next question that begs is, did you elect a leader or a politician?
Okay.
If you elected a politician, their next obsession is, how do I get myself re-elected? If you elected a leader, the next obsession is,
how do I deliver?
How do I deliver for the next generation? That's why they say politicians look out for the next election.
Yes.
Leaders look out for the next generation. And I really try to bring that out so that our people are able to distinguish between leadership and politics.
There's a question I have, and it is because of something you said a few sentences back. You said that there are some individuals, like for example, you said Babu Owino alisema haizi kwa serikali because he was elected into opposition. So my question is it not possible to be in government but still disagree with some of the things that the government that you serve is doing?
It is, and it doesn't mean that when you're in the opposition you're not in government. You're a member of parliament serving in one arm of government.
Okay.
But there's a context here. The context is Kenyans in their own wisdom decided to elect in a majority a government into office to execute policies within the executive, but equally elected a minority that forms now the opposition in parliament that should ideally be the people's watchdog, manifesting more of the oversight role of parliament than conforming to what the executive wants. So if you were elected in this platform, it's because Kenyans felt like you'd fit in better there.
Okay.
And I think that's what Kinababu are trying to say, that why would we be dining and whining with government when we should actually be calling them out for things they're not getting right?
Okay.
So out of principle, he said, okay, I would rather not be counted as part of the government in the context of the executive, but stay.
Okay.
But if you look at the older colleagues, they're already swimming in that, in the sea of opportunities.
But Anthony, since we're discussing politics and politicians and political parties, there are things which political parties do. There are certain positions they take because it's strategic. There are certain things that are said by certain politicians. Let me take you back to a time when I was a young man. No, sorry, I was a younger man. And
yeah, you're still a young man.
No, I'm definitely not young. I'm youthful, but I'm not young. Yes, there's a difference. President Moi had two people with whom he, should we say, performed certain litmus tests on the country. One of them was the father of the current governor of Mombasa. His name was Sharif Nasser. There's a guy called Njinu. These are people who had certain positions. In Luo-Nyanza, there's a guy called Okiki Amayo. These people were characterized by some fairly startling statements they used to make from time to time. Like Sharif once said that, his problem is there's too much freedom in Kenya. And you're wondering, what exactly do you mean there's too much freedom? Others would come up with things but with hindsight, I didn't understand it then. They were testing the waters. When you say this, how do people respond? If you have a party like ODM whose leader has stayed on top of this game that we refer to as politics because he understood the thinking of the Mwananchi and he aligned himself with it, and they aligned themselves with him, this is what I would say. In a situation where you have an understanding with the government that is clearly not very popular with very many people, okay? Would you then not have the same setup where you have people who perform a litmus test. Because in all honesty, it is Raila Odinga and the party that created Babu Owino. He's a creature of that particular party. He's not doing something that his party leader had not done in a previous life. So when we discuss politics, sometimes there has to be this alternative of what really has been going on here. This is my position. Because I find Sifuna standing up and saying something almost similar to Babu's. And the others were saying, this guy, remove him. The late Raila Odinga has passed on. Suddenly, the acting leader of the party is saying, see what Sifuna is saying is fine. So, I have to ask, what exactly are these people playing at? I have to ask that question. Because it seems orchestrated to me, if you ask me. Baba goes to Western and says, Sifuna is
the SG
of yes, and he speaks for the party. You can't interpret that thing in two ways. There's only one interpretation. And then Baba goes to South Nyanza and says, we are in this association until 2027. Now, you see, the those is yes, but he didn't talk about beyond 2027. These are political discussions. And political discussions must be looked at in the light that they are political discussions about the young people, and about the spine that they have. Do they have the spine to actually understand the drastic and the very revolutionary change they must have in their thinking? Many seem to be heading that direction. What do I mean? Theft among civil servants who probably are aspiring to be politicians. Enabling theft when it manifests in the way we do businesses like building roads and so forth. Many of these things have a political end. Somebody's trying to accumulate a war chest so they can pursue a career in politics. Partly just to accumulate a lot of money, but also to protect that wealth once they've got it. If this is something I want to put across to you, do you think that if with one voice all these young parliamentarians said, look, we may risk losing the next election, but we are going to fight against this culture of dishing out money, and they speak with one voice? I focus on this because it gives a sitting member of parliament power. When the public no longer want your money, it disempowers you. You are then forced to talk about things which are more important. Do you think, I'm giving this as an example, that these young parliamentarians have the spine to actually think in a revolutionary way as to how we can change the political culture that we have?
I think I've quite answered that, because I've demonstrated to you how they have defied the norms. And it's not a very easy place to be. Like you correctly said, you know, sometimes when you contradict your party leader within the Kenyan context, it's tantamount to, you know, committing political suicide. That is where we are at. But despite knowing all that, the young parliamentarians in many instances have literally defied what the party hierarchies are saying. As regards to changing the political culture, because the culture that has been inherited, that one, I can tell you, it will not be over one election. We have to really, we're actually doing it for the next generation. Maybe in the next election, we must minimize on dishing out cash and, you know, manifest a lot of ideas being shared. That would actually be a step towards the right direction. And I really want to and use this opportunity to just to talk to many young Kenyans who aspire for political leadership with the hope that they will come and make money. I actually don't think you make money when you get into politics. You lose more money, if you ask me. I have seen it firsthand. I've seen politicians walk into parliament with money, walk out of parliament very broke. They camp outside the gates of parliament trying to even ask their colleagues, please give me something if you have. You know, I have also seen others who've walked into parliament without any money and walk out of that parliament and still turn to beggars. Because out here is a culture of give me more of what you have. So I would actually tell many young aspiring leaders, don't walk with the mentality I'll come and make money. I would give you an example. of people who've walked into parliament without the mentality of making money, and it has worked for them. There's an MP for Mwala. He's, I think, the chair for Energy Committee now. He's called Vincent Musau Kawaya, popularly known as Kawaya. When he got into
he's my grandmother's MP.
Oh, excellent. And he's doing a good job, I believe, in Mwala.
I'll ask my grandmother.
He's been elected. This is his third term. But when he walked in, he was very young, but very talented. He's skilled when it comes to these things of software engineering. I think he had done some work for Safaricom and big companies and made some good chunk of money.
Okay.
And part of it, he used it to campaign and got into office. When he got into office, he wasn't really banking on CDF and those kind of things to survive. He still went back to his hustle, but serving his people. And that should be the attitude. If you really think that you will come to parliament and make so much money, you'd be shocked. Ask Kina Jalango. Every day is a phone call. Hey, chief, my kid doesn't have school fees. When I was campaigning, I will tell you, people would come outside my compound in the morning from as early as 6 a.m. So the policy in my home was you open the main gates by 6 a.m. It's like vehicles are driving in, but it's people walking in. And the house is flooded, whether I'm there or not. You have to serve them tea. When I'm there, I have to hear them out one by one. It's a culture that is there. I didn't even know until I contested. And then I started seeing people walk into my house very early in the morning. I'm like, I've never had so many guests coming to home. And then now my campaign team tells me, hey, boss, if you send them away, you will never get elected. So just embrace them.
Yeah.
So I asked them, embracing means what? Kumbe embracing means you have to hear them out.
Yeah.
Where money is required, dash it out. And now the problem is, if somebody comes with the intention of, Atimi, I need money for, say, for example, rim papers. I didn't know rim papers are that popular until now when I was contesting. So what that means is that if I give you money for rim papers, by the time you're walking out, you've already leaked that to 3 other people. So when they come to me, they all want rim papers, even when they don't need them. So it's a bad culture, and you can't blame it on anyone. Only that we need to, in a very systematic way.
Anthony, you're talking like an old man. I am allowed to talk the way you're talking about a situation.
I'm talking like the truthful man.
Why? Why you're talking like an old man? It's because these are people like me who have entrenched this culture. Okay? I understand the culture of being hospitable. When you're an older person, even if you're educated, if you're friendly with people, they always come to see you. And they will come with their problems. People are coming to you with problems even before you declared. When you declared, now this is the point. It's like everybody felt, okay, now Anthony is going to solve our problems. The thinking I was talking about, I started with the issue of money for a simple reason. The thinking that creates structures, economic structures that enable people to be able to do what they need to do so that they don't have to come to you for all this money. That culture was built upon, if you look at how it started, I know how it started in Luo Nyanza. The government at the time had determined you couldn't hold rallies, so people would go to funerals. And Kanu had started dishing out money. There was a discussion among in fact, this political party, they would say, something. The term they used, it was spoken as though it was the Luo language, taxpayer. Meaning, if somebody offers you money, take it. It's your money because it's your tax money. That was the narrative. Now, this is what it has become now. How many leaders think of creating, you look at the environment that you're in, how do you go about creating something that guarantees that these people can actually make a living so that they do not need to come to you for handouts? Because the culture is, the moment you declare, if I declare now and it is known I'm going home, I'll find that compound full of people. That's what I'm talking about. How do you come up with the idea so that people understand that as an MP, your job is actually this, and what you can do is actually this. But to help them with this problem, this is what you are in the process of doing. It requires thinking. Now that's the radical thinking I was talking about. It requires somebody who has the energy and the spine to bring people who are like-minded and say, guys, this problem, forget this standing. How do we solve these problems that our people have? Because it's clear they have a problem. How do we solve it? when you come up with a solution and people realize that actually a solution actually has been found. I asked a question of somebody who comes from Vihiga, why it is, and I'm going to refer to him by name, Otichilo, who had a reputation for not giving people money, was still elected. And the guy told me, but see what he does. We do not need to. Yes. He notoriously did not give people money. Did they not elect him even as governor? I'm simply trying to say that you don't need 10 examples to show. There was something he had come to an understanding of doing. It's difficult. Now, that's the thing. It is difficult. And you also stand the chance of actually losing an election. When Raila Odinga moved out of Ford Kenya, joined NDP, and he was followed by young people, the people who remained in Luo Nyanza were people who had known Achieng' Oneko, people who had been in politics and were known. My friend, they wiped the floor with those old people. The time in which we live now mirrors that time. That's why I'm giving the example. If one isn't alive to that spirit of change that is upon the nation at that particular moment in time, it'll pass you by. I don't think that the problems that we keep seeing, our people are blind or deaf to. It's a question of just the leadership that will tell them this is how these problems are going to end. Because what you and I are discussing, and it will not end our problems, it will entrench them. Yes.
The flip side of what I gave as an example was, as I interacted with Kenyans and saw that side, there was also another side. And I understood where they were coming from, because they've been cheated before. So sometimes Kenyans are transactional on the account of the fact that you guys lie to us, you get there, you eat our money and you disappear. So it becomes very transactional. But they can also be very rewarding. Because I met this old woman as I was moving around. So I walk into a random home and I'm talking to her and asking her for votes. And you know what she told me? She told me courteously, my son, you don't have to give me anything. If anything, I don't even want it, because you've spoken well. But the only challenge I have is that I'd already promised one of your opponents that I will vote for him out of principles. And because I'm a mother, I don't want even that gift. Do you know, I was so moved that I persuaded her, please take it, because I want your blessings, even if you will not vote for me on this one. And she was kind enough and she said, okay, I'll take it as maziwa, but you go and run. I wish you well, but maybe next time come early. So there's a question of also timing. What time do you arrive when you're campaigning? And how much trust do you earn from the Kenyans? Actually, the young people who've succeeded, like Selassie, I'm told, used to camp in matangas at night, you know, joking and talking to women at night when you may camp pale, night vigil, and I'll hey, you guys, we can actually transform Miasis, and they trusted him. Because again, the transaction comes in on the basis of trust. I cannot entirely blame the Nambale people. They had not interacted with me enough for them to trust me with that vote, you know. But the person they gave had actually vied twice before and lost. So they have seen him. They have seen, okay, this guy, when he loses, this is how he behaves. This guy, when he loses, this is how they can be able to predict. So I think the tragedy also we are in, Kenyans are not very certain and confident with the individuals who work, because they've been cheated enough. So maybe also, to answer your question and to end this bad culture, leaders must begin to, you know, live up to the promises they make. Because the tragedy we are always in is you walk in with, like, the government we are in right now. I mean, the promises that were given, are they living up to it? So when Kenyans feel cheated, you now start seeing them saying, let's be transactional. By the kama amwezi honor your pledges, would rather be transactional.
There's a question here on YouTube. It's by Norbert Owor. Ameuliza, anasema, many young parliamentarians have not done anything substantial worth mentioning. They have demonstrated nothing but incompetence to make any impact. What would you say about that statement?
I think it's not entirely correct. Of course, we have hits, we have misses, but from where I sit, I think going by even polls that have been done, most young parliamentarians have done quite well in terms of their parliamentary work. I think we are amongst the caucus with the highest number of legislations. I think we are right now at around 27, sponsored by young parliamentarians. and it's not easy even just to line up a bill in parliament, because it's a whole process.
Yes.
When it comes to being vocal on youth issues, every other day we have statements coming up in parliament in relation to issues of young people. These parliamentarians have also been able to open doors. Even post the Gen Z protest, we've hosted young people in parliament like thrice and given them parliamentary experience. And over and beyond that, I feel like if you look at what's going on in the country, it's actually the young parliamentarians who are providing direction, political direction as at now, especially after the departure of a very highly celebrated political figure in the name of Raila Odinga, who I think it was after some said, the late Raila Odinga, it hit me again that would we ever be saying Baba is the late, but may his soul rest in eternal peace. So I think I would just invite him to interact well with the ongoings in parliament, particularly even just the Hansard. You'll see that many young parliamentarians are not only vocal, but they're actually leading from the front.
What about those who are behaving badly? And I won't mention names because I'm avoiding a defamation suit, but there are those who we see out here behaving badly, whether it's in clubs or maybe somewhere being violent. We've seen them. Wengine wametoa bunduki, mtu amelipuliwa mahali. What are some of the things that you guys discuss, especially with some of your members who are like that or been caught up in such kinds of problems?
Those are life challenges. It's just that they are highly exposed. So sometimes you'd be able to, be caught in those situations. And it doesn't mean that when you're not a parliamentarian, you don't make those kind of mistakes. You make. So what
see, for a parliamentarian, that person is held to a higher standard as opposed to a random Kenyan.
As it should. It should. And
it's true, but their lives are also scrutinized a lot more than the lives of
but brother, the history ya kuteteanga parliamentarians mimi siwezi kubaliana nayo. Yes, you're human at the end of the day.
This is not kutetea.
No. I'm saying
it's just stating a fact
Yeah.
that when you're in the public domain, your life is in the public.
Yeah.
It's in the public.
And for that reason, you should be very, very, very careful.
You can only be as much careful. Let me be honest with you, because when you walk out of here, I have no control on who I meet outside.
True.
What I do,
But what you can control though is how you react to whatever scenario that you meet.
Yes. And that's why maybe from our end, what we've been trying to do, we have a program called the Leading Young. So we have assigned a life coach. It's a new concept in Kenya to our young parliamentarians, so that they assist you in, when you're doing your normal life, because sometimes leadership can take so much that you miss out on the human side of you. So when you miss out on the human side of you, what happens is that you begin to manifest all these things you're talking about. So from our end, that's what you're trying to do, just to get somebody who can be able to understand their space and provide some little guidance, because you're leading people, but there's no one leading you. So that's one of the measures we put in place. But again, we also advise them every other day, please avoid scenarios that you would jeopardize your career and your reputation. It's not easy, because they're also young people. They want to live their age. You can't stop somebody from stepping out into a night situation and enjoying themselves, because probably their age demands that now. There's also another one who's learned the hard way. So we use this one to teach this other one, And I think we should also give credit when somebody has walked a path and they have repented and said that I regret what I did. Even as a leader, I think that's the highest level of leadership, to look back and say, I got this one wrong, and I'm asking for forgiveness because I want to correct it this way. So even the incidences you mentioned, I know for sure, like in the case of my SG, who's Babu Wino, he highly regretted that incident. And in as much as it was a mistake that was not planned entirely, he regrets, And if you look at him right now, he's not the Babu you interacted with during those days. He's literally transitioned and transformed, cut down on so many things that would have easily contributed to that. And that's the journey we want, and that's the kind of stories Kenyans want to hear. Because, like I've told you, the voters have been cheated enough times, so they even want to deal with. Do you remember the days when Kinasonko used to even be arrested for purposes of for claims of theft, and people would say tupeni huyo mwizi wetu huku nje. Why? Because he's natural, he's real. Kama nimekosea, I'm not pretending. Other than mwingine anajificha, anajifanya the best of the best, kumbe vitu anafanya ni worse than huyu mwingine. Yeah,
true. I mean, and no one is irredeemable. Yeah. So but at the end of the day, like we said, held to a higher standard. Anthony, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for availing time. I've actually remembered why I thought I had hosted you before. You were to come here on the 24th of September.
Correct.
Yeah, something came up, you couldn't make it, but here you are.
Yeah. And so, maybe just a parting shot.
Sure.
I think it's Albert Einstein who said this, and I like relating with this quote, that the significant problems we face will never be solved with the same mind that caused the problem. We've been talking about higher standard. Our higher standards for leadership must demand also a higher standard for mindset shift. Because the problems we are confronting as a country would require a higher thinking. You cannot have leaders lamenting like the people. A blind man leading a blind people situation. That cannot happen. I think it's about time we have a turnaround and we have an opportunity.
Right.
Braila's exit marks the end of an era for a particular group of people.
And the beginning of another one.
Beginning of a new era for a different crop of leaders.
Right.
He fought his fight. He's gotten us up to where he could. Now, this transition must also allow Kenyans to give opportunity to new leadership. Yeah, that's my conviction.
True story. Now that you've spoken about your Secretary General, that is the Honorable Babu Owino, mlete. Tunasikia kuna kiti anataka huku Nairobi.
Yes.
Akuja tuambie rasmi. Yeah.
Tamwambia by the nikitoka hapa na mcall nimwambie apitie.
Na wale wengine pia, not just Babu. Because you said you have how many members now? 20 something?
60.
Yes. Wow. Yes, kindly. Avail them. Let's have a conversation with them.
Correct.
All right. Here's where we take a short break, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go too far.
The sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. The government maintains that the resettlement plan for 966 families who are victims of the 2007 post-election violence will proceed as planned. This is despite controversy surrounding the legality of the purchase of one of the farms in Nakuru County. Ministry of Lands has deployed surveyors in Joro to begin boundary marking ahead of the relocation of the families this Saturday.
The judge was very clear and with a lot of clarity. So the court, amongst other orders, it gave a leeway that the government continues with the process of settlement of the IDPs on that parcel of land. With respect to the directive that the president gave on settlement of the IDPs, we want to confirm that that parcel of land is available. And the directive by the president was proper, was legal, and was procedural. The court directed that if at all it is found to be true that the sale of that parcel of land to the government was unlawful in any manner, then the beneficiary would have recourse in following up with the administrator of that estate.
Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has said that 164 newborns and 14 mothers died in Kiambu County during the 5-month doctors' strike. The strike crippled hospital operations and denied thousands of residents medical services. Appearing before the National Assembly on Wednesday, Duale said the deaths were a tragic reminder of the severe consequences of industrial action in health sector, describing the situation as unacceptable and deeply regrettable.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious offense. And going forward, we will ask digitally through our digital health agency and our digital system, every health facility in our country will report on a daily basis any maternal or child mortality that happens in that facility.
At least 5 people have been arrested in Nairobi and other regions across the country for allegedly impersonating candidates in the ongoing KCSE exams. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba confirmed the arrest on Wednesday while supervising the opening of the examination container in Dagoretti sub-county, saying they undermine the integrity of the national examination process.
It's regrettable that a few individuals have attempted to engage in examination malpractice despite repeated warnings. The government has already taken firm action against those involved, and these measures should serve as a strong deterrent to anyone contemplating to undertake similar misconduct. For instance, there are situations in Nairobi and other parts of the country where 5 or so people were arrested impersonating as the students.
National Assembly's Committee on Regional Development has raised concern over the worsening floods and landslides across the country. The committee says urgent humanitarian support and long-term disaster preparedness measures are needed. Committee Chairperson Peter Lokachapong expressed sympathy to affected families, noting that the disasters have claimed more than 34 lives, displaced hundreds and destroyed homes, schools and roads. The hardest hit areas include Chesongoch in Elgeyo Marakwet, Kimende in Kiambu, Kamutungi in Embu, Tinderet in Nandi, and parts of Narok South. The U.S. Transport Secretary Sean Duffy has warned that there will be 10% reduction in air travel capacity at 40 major airports in the U.S. starting Friday morning if the government shutdown continues. The decision was made because air traffic controllers have been reporting issues with fatigue. The head of the Federal Aviation Administration said at a briefing with Duffy on Wednesday, during the shutdown, now the longest in the U.S. history, controllers have had to keep working without pay, prompting some to call out sick or take side jobs. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Here we are. It is now 7.5 minutes past 9 o'clock. How are you doing? Hope you're well, fantastic wherever you are. You can get us on 88.8 FM in Nairobi, and Mombasa is 90.7 FM. And by the way, online, we are not only just on radiogeneration.co.ke, but we're also on TuneIn, which is an app you can download on your device, whether it's your tablet or your phone, and also your computer, because nowadays Windows allows you to download apps. You can get to listen to us from anywhere in the world, on whichever device that you choose. So there's TuneIn, there's Radio Garden, by the way, which is also an app and a website. You can get onto Radio Garden and find Radio Generation from anywhere in the world and get to share the world with us. So basically, that is where you can find us. So feel free. And also on our social media platforms. Currently, we are live on X, we're live on YouTube, we're also live on Facebook, and many mali wewe huko manze tuko hata Twitch. In case you don't know what Twitch is all about, ask your neighbor and they'll definitely tell you. So in case you are wondering where else we are, bro, tuko kila mahali. Right now, though, in the studio, we do have a lawyer and an accredited mediator. He's been here before talking about politics, but today we want to switch gears with him and see how we can save money and time through alternative dispute resolution. So, here is Fanya Mambo Kinodhia, wakili, leo ndakuita wakili.
Yes. Today I'm happy to come here wearing a different hat.
Yeah?
Yes.
The last time you were here, we were talking about ODM and succession and the death of Raila CGH, and we were talking about what Kenya Kwanza government has or hasn't done and the way forward for the people of Dagoretti South. It is?
Yes, it is.
But today we want to focus on alternative dispute resolution.
Yes.
So let's start by just describing what alternative dispute resolution is, because watu wanafikirianga hiyo ni kupeana mangumi.
Okay, great. First and foremost,
right,
I like to tell people that they created the term alternative dispute resolution. I have authored a book. It's called My Mediation Journal. In fact, it's the only book that is used to teach mediation in this country.
No way.
Yes, it is.
All right.
For a long time, there was no book authored in Kenya that would have been used to teach mediation. So I teach mediation.
Okay.
And the first thing I have written in that book is that we need to move and change this A from alternative to appropriate. Because indeed, what is it an alternative to? It is actually the appropriate way to resolve disputes.
Okay.
And why I say this is they were saying it's an alternative to litigation because after colonization, we all discovered that all of a sudden you can take your neighbor, your friend, your wife, your husband before a judge. Now, did you know that the person who knows the least, in fact, the most ignorant person about your dispute is the judge? Yet he makes the most important decision about your dispute. The two of you understand that dispute better. Do you know you even have to introduce myself? My name is Mbuvi.
Yeah.
My name is Siti Muga. I am a Kenyan of sound mind. You even have to tell the judge you are normal. You know?
Yeah.
That's where you are starting. But the dispute, now then you have to come and say, my wife of 15 years is a terrible human being. I am divorcing her because she has done this. My husband of 20 years is so bad, he beats me up, he's beating the children, he comes home drunk. So what we have been believing is the appropriate way of resolving disputes, which means going to the judge, is actually the most terrible one. Because you are telling a stranger your problems, and you are telling someone who has, let me tell you.
Yeah.
When you go, if today you log in into court, if I give you any court link and you log in, and the lawyers will tell you this, small claims, you'll see a judge has got 74, 84, 100 matters that morning.
Alone.
Na unajua one matter ni kifile, kinekangwa hivi, kile unaonanga lawyer amefunga na maraba bandivi. That's one matter. And tomorrow he'll have another 70 or 60 or 55. So what is your matter before that judge?
One of many bulky ones that they wish they didn't have anyway, but this is how judge akona shida zake nyumbani. So we call it appropriate dispute resolution, where we have the two parties to a dispute sitting, and then there's an impartial third party called the mediator, helping them not to yell at each other and just find an amicable way out of their problem. Okay.
So mediation is you and him sitting there and me sitting here and us trying to agree. Because even if you don't agree and you go to court, there'll be one winner, one loser. I usually say there will be one hallelujah and one awi. Because that's what happens after a judge gives a judgment.
Yeah. Legally, what are the ways of resolving disputes in this country? So there's going before a magistrate or a judge, then there's mediation. Ile ingine ni gani?
Principally, there are three.
Okay.
The first one is what we are used to, litigation. Litigation is when you take your matters before a magistrate or a judge. The second one is arbitration. Now, arbitration is very close to mediation, and people ask what's the difference. Arbitration now, Mbuvi has become a judge. You are a private judge. So City and I come to you and you resolve our matter. So, and your decision is final. So those people who've been trained as arbitrators, for the lack of better word, are actually judges. So instead of you going through the court process that takes time and all, you decide to look for an arbitrator. So you go to the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators and you write to them and you tell them, this is the nature of our dispute, so give us an arbitrator. And so they randomly pick for you someone who is not known to all of you. And that person comes and listens to your disputes and makes an arbitral award, which basically is a judgment based on the facts of what you have presented before them.
And this arbitrator is an employee of the state?
No.
Okay.
This is a private person. I am an arbitrator too,
Oh.
but I don't sell arbitration so much.
Okay.
Because the results for me with arbitration have been catastrophic. Usually you have one winner, one loser, and they will never forgive you, just like what happens before a judge.
So one hallelujah and one we.
Yes.
Okay.
But when,
I have to ask this question.
Yes.
Before I forget.
Yeah.
Yes, the judgment that is arrived at in arbitration is similar to that of a high court.
Yes.
I've heard it said that it is very difficult to challenge
Yes.
the outcome. Why?
It's because you've submitted yourself to that process, and you understood that process. You said, this is what I want to be bound by.
And this
remember,
process,
our courts are congested, so any opportunity not to have that matter entertained in court is better. So that is why now we go to the third one, which is the best, which is mediation.
I'm still on arbitration.
Yes.
Hapo malisitia ameuliza.
Yes.
Why would anyone then choose arbitration over the other two?
Interestingly, as I told you, I studied arbitration before I even studied mediation. So after my law degree, I said my line is in alternative dispute resolution, because everybody thinks, oh, wakili ni yule anaenda kotini, you have to appear before a judge, you have to say my lords, amicus curiae. I mean, we have so many people who studied medicine, but they don't go to theater.
No, they don't.
They don't operate on you. Does it make them any less doctors? No. They are still doctors who chose a different field in the space of medicine that is important and needed for all of us as citizens. So the same way now. So after my arbitration and after arbitrating on a few matters, I discovered that this thing leaves a very bad taste in the mouths of the people who come. And by there you will do it, you know, justly, and you will make the right decision based on the circumstances of the case. And you can see for sure this is how it should have gone. But one person will still be unhappy and one person will be happy. And sometimes some of them are family. This is a brother versus a brother on the land that belongs to their father. So either way, they are still tied so much together to the point that if one day one of them dies, the other one has no choice but to attend his own brother's burial. So, you know, and his brother's wedding and so on and so forth. So you need a system of justice that leaves people retaining their relationships as much as possible. And that is what mediation is.
Okay. Now, I think I have understood. Now let's get to that point of choosing the appropriate dispute resolution.
Yes.
What first of all, what happens in the process? How do I even get to that particular process? Do I just walk into your office and say, Fanya Mambo, I want you to sort me out as far as my dispute with city is concerned? How do I get about it?
Many ways. To start with, we have what we call private matters, and then we have what is called court annexed mediation. I'll start with the easiest, which is court annexed mediation. A matter goes before court. Someone sues City Muga, and the matter goes before court. And when it's brought before court, nowadays they've introduced something called screening. So the judiciary has a whole department for screening. They screen this matter and say, wait a minute, City Muga and this person have had a business relationship for a long time. City Muga owns a studio. This person has been supplying microphones and, you know, sound and so on and so forth. Na namudai 1 million shillings. These people have had a relationship.
Yeah.
So they send it for what we call compulsory mediation. So I am a court accredited mediator. That's another whole topic on its own. So when I am seated where I am, the courts will call me and they'll tell me, we have sent you an email, there's a case before you. And when I look at the facts, I'll find that City Muga is having a case between himself and this supplier who was supplying to his studio. And so I'll reach out to both parties, I'll convene a mediation session, and I'll see to it that we try to do the best so that they can agree. Should they agree, we give that agreement to the court on the terms of their agreement. It is filed by the courts, it's accepted by the courts as a binding judgment now, and that one is final. It's non-appealable, because it is two people consenting as to how they want to be bound, and it is enforceable by the court.
All right.
The second method, on the same story of City Muga, one of them approaches Kilimani Mediation Center, my farm, and says, we have a dispute between ourselves. This guy owes us 1 million shillings. Please help us. So as Kilimani Mediation Center, we write a letter to the other party telling them so-and-so was here. They said there's this dispute. And they said that if we don't hear from you within 14 days, they have no choice but to take you to court. Now, any wise person will think about it and say, wait a minute, courts are unpredictable. And if a court rules pay 1 million, you'll pay 1 million upfront, plus interest, plus the legal fees. It could end up being 1.5 million. But if you submit yourself to a mediation process, you can say, look here, it's not 1 million, it's 750. Okay. Number 2, it's not payable upfront. I can pay 250, and then we stagger the 500 over 1 year. So you see, you're not only agreeing on principle, you're also agreeing on the amount, you're agreeing on how it's going to be paid. You're even telling him, I heard your mom at home is looking for a cow. I have 7. Let me give you 3 cows, 200,000, and then the balance of 300,000. This is how I can pay it. Something that the flexibility of which you cannot get in any court process.
Yes.
So that is why mediation is the most superior method of dispute resolution.
For me cows.
It will be very hard.
But it's not impossible.
It is not impossible, but it will be in fact, it will be laughable. In fact, the other lawyers will start laughing about it in court. But at mediation, you are allowed to be vulnerable.
Okay.
You are allowed to even say, I'm sorry. In court, you come fighting. You come with your gloves. You come ready for a fight.
But why does litigation have to be adversarial?
Because that was the training. When I was at Catholic University, when I was studying law, I remember there was no time when we were told how to be nice. In fact, we even used to be taught how to insult the other person in a nice way. Like saying so-and-so is being economical with the truth. We were taught very many nice things that you can use to, like telling somebody when wisdom was raining, he had his umbrella on. These are things we were taught.
Basically, mtu mjinga.
Yeah, remember when wisdom was raining, he had his umbrella on. So there were many things we were taught that as a lawyer, you are out to fight.
Okay.
In fact, it is now that our universities have started teaching alternative dispute resolution. It's now that our universities have started saying that a lawyer can have a soft side. A lawyer can have a humane side. By that time, it was, I won, you lost. Yeah, and it was pride in that.
Okay.
I've never lost a case. Yeah.
So this, for example, you mentioned divorce can also be mediated. Like can we come to, you said Kilimani Mediation Center.
Yes.
Can we come to me and my wife if we want to separate and divorce? Can we do that via mediation?
I think I'll answer the broader question, which will capture that. And the broader question is, what are those things that can be mediated? And what are those things that cannot be mediated?
Okay.
As a matter of principle, all criminal matters should not go to mediation. Because this is somebody versus the republic. I mean, you kill somebody, you rape somebody, you defile somebody. This may not go into mediation. Now, having said that, allow me to confuse you a bit and tell you.
Okay.
There is a case, if you all search online, it's called Mohammed Abdo Mohammed versus the Republic of Kenya. And in this particular case, there was a murder case that was actually resolved through mediation around 2015 in this country.
Okay.
It goes to tell you, because Article 159 of our Constitution provides, Article 159 2 Part C, 159 2C, speaks of the various methods through which people can resolve their disputes, and actually mandates the court to go out there and enforce mediation. That's why we have court-annexed mediation. So basically what we are saying is, as a matter of principle, it is not common conduct to mediate criminal disputes. However, there are so many exceptions that are happening in life today that are pointing towards the direction that you can mediate any dispute as long as the parties are willing to sit
What
down.
you've just quoted, tell us a little bit more about it and why it is mediation was the way, the manner, or the approach that was preferred.
For the case of Mohammed Abdo.
Yes.
That's the one I want to understand.
Yes.
Because
In Mohammed Abdo Mohammed, what happened?
Yes.
There were two Somali people, and within Isli, they disagreed over
Are
something.
they Kenyans of Somali origin? Or
Both of them are Kenyans.
Okay. Oh, yes.
One picked up a knife and stabbed the other.
Oh, dear.
Then he was rushed to hospital, but he died out of the complications that arose from the stabbing. And then, of course, he was arrested and taken to court, and he was put in industrial area, remand prison for some time, and then he was freed on bond. You know, nowadays, even for murder, you can get a bond. Even terrorism, you can get a bond, something that, anyway. So he got a bond and he left, and he was now doing his case from outside, as they say. Unafanya case ukiwa nje. And what happened is, during the course of this time, he rushed to Garissa. And the two families said, in our Somali culture, when somebody kills another one, there are camels that are given, there are rituals that are done, and people forgive one another. And once they forgive one another, that matter is over. So by the time they came back to Nairobi, the same parties, now the parties that were complainants in the case and the parties that were supposed to give evidence, refused to witness in the case. And they said, it will be so bad in our culture
if we witness
in this case, and we've already done the cultural things that we had done. So the case was bound to collapse anyway. So the judge decided that this case has been dismissed, and it has agreed with the agreement of the parties. So it has been resolved on the basis of the terms that the parties agreed upon when they met back in Garissa. And that case died like that. It's a very interesting case, Mohammed Abdo Mohammed versus Republic. There are very many other criminal cases that have been mediated, but the basic rule is that they shouldn't be. So now for the divorce, the same thing. Only a court can give you divorce. However, there is something called division of matrimonial property.
Yes, that can be mediated.
Poor people.
Pause. You've gotten to division.
Yeah.
Surely mediation ought to look at the reasons why it is people have arrived at the point where they feel a separation is necessary.
Yes.
Can mediation not look into that? Because the court doesn't have time to do that. Mediation does.
Wait, the court doesn't have the time to do what?
To give both sides the opportunity to talk about it, because you want to divorce. There is something or things that have happened over time, cumulatively, and have reached a point where you realize, hey, by the way, and you go to court.
Yeah.
From everything that Fanya Mambo has told us, mediation would afford both parties ample time to be able to go back and forth, and even to talk to each other. A court. Yes.
I have undergone through divorce, and we were given time.
In court.
But
allow me to
let the
explain.
lawyer
This is what
explain.
happens. This is what happens with mediation. There are things that were given to you by the state that a private person cannot give. A marriage certificate is one of those things. As a mediator, I cannot annul a marriage certificate and purport to give you a divorce because I don't have those instruments. What mediation does in marriage cases is, one, you can discuss, for example, on child support. You have 2 children, you have 3 children. How do we go about it? So you have a very well documented paper on how you will go about child support, who will stay with the children, what will they eat, who will pay school fees, and so on. So that's a very important element of marriage, because some of the reasons why people have a problem with how to separate is the issue of children. The second thing that you can do during mediation is you are able to agree on matrimonial property. Nani ataenda na probox, nani atabaki na nyumba, and so on and so forth. The third thing that you are able to do at mediation is, for example, to agree on the house. Some people have bought the matrimonial house together by joint contribution, so it's usually a problem. So mediation can do that. Literally, you can discuss everything else about a marriage, about a divorce, and about a separation other than mediation as the process granting you
The divorce.
itself. So now that you go to court, but when you go to court, you say we have met over mediation, we have agreed about everything else, how we are going to divide property, how we are going to do this, and so on and so forth. You might also meet at mediation and decide, look here, it's not good for us to separate. Let us agree to live under the following conditions. I have one I did. Good thing with mediation, it has a lot of confidentiality, where the parties agreed that each will stay in their own bedroom, and this is how they are going to do. Today it's the 3rd year, and I met the lady the other day for review, and she said it's working perfectly. He has his bedroom, I have my bedroom, we're in the same house, and we are okay. In fact, the gentleman took the guest bedroom downstairs.
Right.
Because I think there was too much wealth at stake.
That separation would have
separation would have swelled so many things. So they keep a very nice public image out here, but technically there's no marriage there.
Okay.
So, and because with mediation, that's the other thing, confidentiality. You just
yeah, but I'd rather I take a house in Kileleshwa, baki Kilimani. Let's see how we will deal with that situation, because same house.
Everyone has their way, and it's special.
That is why
same house
you have litigation, you have arbitration, you have mediation.
You can even try fighting. It's a method of dispute resolution. Ask Russia.
It's another way of dispute
resolution or acceleration. Because wars don't really solve things, do they?
No, but I'm just saying, some people can try. People have tried to resolve disputes through fighting. So I usually tell people it's one of the methods of dispute resolution, but is it a good one? No, it's a terrible one. So I usually tell people there are millions of methods of dispute resolution, including keeping quiet, because some people think that solves some problems, but the best of them is mediation.
There's a question here. Nobato Ward anasema alternative justice system is encouraged to reduce the court tedious process and unclog our courts. If this arbitrator, now that is you, is a private person, how binding is the outcome?
Oh, awesome. Great.
This is now in arbitration. How binding is the outcome?
No, in arbitration, the binding, the outcome is binding.
The binding is binding.
It is binding. There's nothing you can do about it. But in mediation, it gets even better. Now, what they have allowed, this dispute that was not even before court, and it's not just private. People think it's private.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to the corporates out there. I have one insurance company that keeps calling me every other day. We did one mediation for them, and thank you, Munajijua. They usually tell me, Fanya Mambo, we have another one. You know, they are usually not keen on paying.
Okay.
So, and we usually sit down with them, that insurance company and the new client, and we agree on something. By the way, I have always told people there's something called a shortcut judgment. And a shortcut judgment is, you two people have a dispute, even two companies, even two corporations. We sit down in the office, maybe even for just an hour. Once we agree on how we want to resolve our dispute, if we agree at 10, I'm telling you, 11, I'll have filed that mediation settlement agreement in court. 11:15, it is a binding judgment of the court. At 12, it is actually enforceable against the party that decides to deviate from what they agreed upon. So I've always been telling people, stop being afraid of mediation. In fact, kama ulikuwa unapanga leo kupeleka mtu kotini, usiende. Come to us. Let us sit down at Kilimani Mediation Center. Let us try to understand what you are going through. Let us call the other party. Let us sweet talk one another. Imagine if you both agree and sign. Same day, you have a judgment capable of enforcement by the courts.
So no, but I hope you've heard, it's very binding. Kuna jamaa akona pesa yangu, acha nikwambie. Sitamtaja hapa. But he owes me money.
Ulimpa? Ulimpa pesa?
No, I actually did some work for this person.
Na mlikuwa na contract?
Tulikuwa na contract. Yes, signed everything.
Yes.
It's been years.
How many?
It could be before 2019 there.
So much yetu hiyo pesa.
So
City hataki upate pesa. Anataka uende December ukiwa broke.
So the bar akona do yangu. It's 24k.
Yes.
Right?
So pesa ni iron pesa mingi sana.
It was actually 54, then akalipa.
Yes.
Ika reduce ikafika 24. But it's taken forever. So sent one lawyer at one point, then that lawyer for some strange reason told me that they have moved from the law firm that they were working for, so that case kidogo akayabandon. I'm thinking that how can I still pursue that case?
Yes, you can. Again, as I told you, it's easy. It's getting a court annexed or an accredited mediator.
Oh, but I'm asking about now mediation.
Yes.
Is this something you can bring to mediation?
Getting an accredited mediator to send a letter to them and to tell them, look here, this person has two choices. To get you to pay through the normal way, or he'll go to small claims. Squeeze the small claims, you can go for as little as 10,000. You're filing in court and you want to get back your money. So, and sometimes people fear, because can you imagine someone goes to small claims court to claim 25,000 against you? They pay their lawyer 50K to enforce this 25,000, and then the court grants that you pay the 25 plus 50. And for you, because you were taken to court, you had to lawyer up. So maybe you paid another 30K to your lawyer to, and you know nowadays decisions within small claims 60 days it's done. So if you know within 60 days you'll be slapped with 25 plus 50 plus your 30, which is close to 100K, you're better off just telling, hey, look here, yes, I agree, I owe you 24, nimetuma 5, nitakuwa natuma 5 every month. And you sign that and it becomes binding. So I usually tell people, if you know it's going to be messy in front of you, don't get into the mess. Do protect yourself early. And especially now that we have small claims courts, if you owe anybody below 1 million shillings, please be nice to them, because you'll end up paying a lot more within 60 days. And what I have been seeing happening from small claims is they immediately come to attach. They go, they get a decree, they get an order, they come, they attach your car. So umepaka hapa kidogo, unasikia ka breakdown, auctioneers wamebeba gari yako, wamekaa wamehesabu, wameona your car is worth 600K, you owed 700, wako kwako nyumbani, wamekujia microwave, wamekujia fridge. It's a shaming, and only because you didn't accept to say, look here, let us sit down
and agree how I'll pay this money.
On how I'll pay this money.
Yeah. Okay. So Simono umeshapata client.
Has he told you how much his charges?
Hiyo tutaongea baadaye. Ama unataka kutuambia?
It's very simple. I've always told people, mediation is about 40% of what you would have paid at litigation. So look for what a lawyer would have charged you for any case, and mediation is about 30 to 40% of what the lawyer would have charged you. There is no cheaper method of dispute resolution. And these are sums we sit and agree beforehand. It's not somebody pulling from you from under the door and saying, advocate's remuneration order inasema ukigongwa na gari ulipwe 1 million unanipatia 30%, ni kama tuligongwa pamoja, you know. So mediation, you agree beforehand. You are like, look here, this is how much we can afford, this is how much we want to pay for. And once you have that agreement, you're good to go.
There's this thing that I'm sure you've probably seen it. Obina won a case against some fellows who it was a defamation situation, and he's been awarded some 6 million. So you want to tell me that his lawyer will take how much from that again?
Now I have to check the advocate's remuneration order for that, but it's a percentage and a good one.
Okay.
So sometimes if this was mediation,
and that thing will be appealed, chief. So
no, but we're just saying if it is not appealed and they decide to pay,
yes, it will be a good percent of that, and it's in the advocate's remuneration order. The good thing is these things are available online, so anybody who checks will find it there. So sometimes I usually tell people, if you can do it, I was looking at my good friend Robert Burale. And I was looking at that case and the way it went and the media attention it got. And I felt, wait a minute, ouch. I wish somebody had spoken to both of them. I wish somebody had told Burale, don't. I wish somebody had told the wife, the ex-wife, don't, you know.
And the ex-brother-in-law.
Don't. And I wish somebody had said, can we go to a room? Pale. Or if we don't agree, can we do a Zoom or a Google Meet? I just wish it had happened that way. So sometimes some of these things give you a lot more negative publicity than they do good for you. And sometimes I tell people, when someone does a bad thing to you, before you rush to the media, before you rush to fight, think of, is there another appropriate method of resolving the same? And I'm sure sometimes when you write a letter to someone telling them, there are two choices. I can go the mediation way, or I can go full-blown litigation. And they sit and they think through, they will go through mediation.
Okay. Good. In terms of in terms of the time it takes for mediation, because you see, court, you really can't know.
Yes.
Your matter can be heard tomorrow, then in 2 months' time done.
Yes.
Or it can be heard tomorrow, then the next time they hear you is in December next year, same time.
Yes.
Mediation will take how long?
The Chief Justice was giving statistics last year. I remember we were at Strathmore University, and she was saying that within the period that we've had mediation, which is from 2016 to now, which is about 10 years or thereabout, 9, this is the 10th year we are celebrating mediation. Mediation has unlocked 72 billion back into the economy. And I'll explain how. Most people get into a partnership, and they're usually very nice to one another until they've supplied government and government has paid. When the money hits the account, hey, I'm the one who, this was my idea, I don't know I did what. So you start fighting about the 5 or 6 million in the account. Na watoto wenyu wamefukuzwa wajalipa school fees. So what happens is that money, one goes to court and says, freeze the account. Huyu anaweza toa pesa. So you have a 6 million frozen in an account until the matter is heard and determined 4.5 years later. The average time of having a matter resolved in court is about 3.5 years. The average time of a court-annexed mediation is actually 66 days.
It's a fraction of the time.
Yes. And actually, for me, I have had a 23-year-old succession dispute. That 23-year-old succession dispute had gone through 100 judges during its 100 lawyers during its existence. It had gone through about 17 judges during the 23 years.
How many decades has that thing taken?
No, 100 lawyers, because these were 4 ex-wives left by this guy.
4 widows, you mean?
So widows, yeah.
Okay.
So each widow used to get his own lawyer.
Lawyers, yes.
Their own lawyer. So at one time you have 4 or sometimes even. And like I remember one, because this guy was very wealthy. Very, very wealthy. By the way, how can you have 300 title deeds? Are you normal?
Yes.
We counted 300 title deeds.
That fellow understood the very concept of accumulation. That fellow
understood
primitive very well.
Primitive
and you
accumulation.
Can see, no. That's not primitive. He accumulated, but it represents his life. He even accumulated wives. You see, he was living according to certain principle in his head.
Yes. So now one of the wives had 6 lawyers at some point. The one who had stolen 100 title deeds and hidden had 6 lawyers, 6 of the best, some of whom had a file opening fee of 1 million shillings. Just a file opening fee. So anyway, it had touched 100 lawyers in 23 years. It had touched 17 judges in that 23 years. There's a mediator who took it up and died. I won't die because I was still doing that case. All I'm saying is we resolved that case in 4 sittings, and it took less than a month.
What?
And you know what? Eventually, they agreed to do it in accordance with the will that they had, the father had left, the late father had left. Walikuwa wamecontest your will, wakasumbuana, but eventually they said
what was
they
followed.
said by the way, this guy was wise. Hivi alikuwa amegawa after kutumbuana 23 years, and now
23
by the hata husumbui sasa, audini na watoto wao, unadili na watoto wao na wajukuu, because those people, the 4 widows are not there.
Okay.
Their children now are in their 60s, 70s. So the guys are dealing with now are the grandchildren. So they just said, look here, Gooks, because I was saying, Gooks was wise. Let's just do what Gooks had said. And I thank God for millennials and Gen Zs. They have a very different way of thinking.
Yeah.
They are not so keen. But a Gen Z is okay with having an apartment with Wi-Fi if he can own it, and then he just takes an Uber. They're not keen on primitive accumulation. In fact, they're happy to have things happening the way they're supposed to happen. So it's a generation that is different. A Gen Z is happy to have an online app that earns him 1 million shillings, as opposed to having
a shamba,
all sorts of weeds growing on all sorts of pieces of some of the lands that this primitive old generation owns. Wanaishi nyoka tu na sungura huko. So anyway, so the average time is 66 days.
Environmentally friendly, chief.
So mediation obviously is confidential. That's the beauty. You had me here speak of Mohammed Abdul Mohammed versus Republic of Kenya. Why? Because that case was in court. But any mediation case will never be quoted. In fact, whatever you agree in mediation is private, it's confidential. I tell big companies, which by they have been maintaining very high end lawyers, na sisemu msiwa maintain, have a mediator on your roll. Coca-Cola has tried to keep their secrets around how they make their soda for a very long time.
Actually, no one knows.
Yes. Can you imagine if they had...
There's some people who know.
Just
Uliza Kariobangi, kuna time walikuwa wamefanya experiment huko. All I'm saying is this. If we had allowed, like say they had, let's say they have a dispute with the people who make that, and it goes to court, there will be questions in court. What did you put that you're saying that this is tasting different? What did you put that was excess? So the business the trade secret will come out.
Yep.
So for a dispute such as that, and if you're a business out there, you're an IT firm, you make chicken, you do whatever, and you have a recipe that is special.
You have intellectual property.
You have intellectual property that you prefer hidden. Please go for mediation, because once you go to litigation, at cross-examination, you'll have to answer every question that is asked,
including those patents.
Yes, and that thing will come out. And there are times when the court can give an order that, produce this for investigation by the court. But mediation allows you a confidentiality that you cannot get in any other process. Mediation is fast, it's affordable, it's cheaper, it's more convenient. If you're told uko na mata Kibra kesho kotini 9, uko Kibra kesho kotini 9. Most of my mediation matters I do virtually. Nowadays I have a woman who cannot see eye to eye with a man. She's in Runda, the man is somewhere else in Lavington, and each joins. And they are happy. They are saying, ungetomia to meet physically, we can't fit in the same room.
It would have been
it would have been disaster. And you discuss and you agree on everything. So there's that flexibility of time, flexibility of how you can do it. And so I tell people any day, if you can do mediation, just mediate.
Yeah. For example, people who have an issue with their either ex-employer, where you left company X, they owe you Y amount of money, and kuna venye wanakani kama wataki kukusort, so that can also be taken to mediation, because industrial problems zinakuanga mingi sana.
As we speak right now, there is a union that represents very many employees, workers, that we had to hire a hall, and they sent 50 representatives, because they are there in their thousands, and I was the mediator for that particular matter. So they sent their representatives, and the employer and everybody else came, and it went very well. That is something the court had not been able to do for 6.5 years.
Okay.
I'm not saying courts are incapable. I'm just saying that
they're overwhelmed.
They were overwhelmed, and also, mediation gives room for raw emotions.
Yeah.
The other day, I mediated a dispute between a media house and its employees, and this media house was making losses, proper losses, and for the longest time, we thought that it is. We didn't understand what the problem was, and it had never come out. Until we got into now, in mediation, there's something called a caucus, where you can call one party kando, unajua tuongee nyuma ya tent, tujue what exactly is happening, and the other party kando. The junior employees would do a lot of work, but the credit was going to the middle and the top level management, and that hurt them. So anytime they got an advertising deal, they would sell those advertising deal to other media houses. So those adverts would run on other media houses, and
denying their media house revenue.
Yes, because they were also getting commissions from those other media houses that they never used to get at home. So once we resolved this dispute, in 3 months, the MD called me and told me, look here, our profits have surged up 31%. I was like, CLA? He said, yes, 31%. Kumbe, these guys didn't need to do a lot of work. They just went back to the same people who were giving advertising deals and told them, now we are getting commissions on this side. Things are okay. We are also being recognized for our effort. At the end of the year, we've been promised we shall be, employee of the year and all those things.
Bonuses and
all. And boom, the money started flowing in. So there are so many workplaces that have become toxic. People who are sitting in the same department and they can't speak to one another. Mediation is the way to go.
Yeah. Okay. So industrial disputes can also be...
Yes, industrial disputes. All sorts of disputes, actually, I usually say. But the one...
Apart from criminal.
Yes, apart from criminal, again, with a rider to it. And the other thing I would like to encourage anybody who is running any business right now, and you have your lawyers on speed dial, please have a mediator on speed dial as well. Sometimes, these cases that are in court, somebody takes a letter, you get a demand letter from a lawyer. The biggest mistake we do is we give it to our lawyer. The lawyer is like, hey, ikizungu yote atajua hata mimi nilienda Kenya School of Law. See you in court. Yeah, you don't have a monopoly of the corridors of court. You know the way lawyers speak.
Yep.
You are in court over something that you shouldn't have been caught about. But when you send the same lawyer to your mediator, he tones it down. He comes and says, look here, you have been supplying our company with checkbooks for the longest. We are going through a tough period. Can we have tea in the boardroom on Thursday?
Yeah.
And so the mediators appear in the boardroom and the two parties sit here. And then once you get to understand where your client is coming from, that your client has actually even taken overdrafts to even pay you some of the ones he's paid you, and that your client is expecting 15 million from some other source, and when it comes they'll pay you plus even if you want to be paid with interest, this matter is resolved. So what we've been telling people is, before you rush to court, rush to mediation. You can never lose by rushing to mediation. And training who can become a mediator.
Actually, this I want to read this comment from Collins Okwema. Anasema, wow, this is so informative. I did a short course on alternative dispute resolution, and I concur with today's guest that mediation always weighs more advantages compared to litigation. So he says that he's done a short course. Can I do a course if I've never been a lawyer?
To start with, you do not have to be a lawyer to be a mediator. I know my fellow lawyer friends don't like this, but it's the truth. You do what we call a 40-hour training in mediation. So we start on Monday. Imagine we finish on Friday.
And that's it.
All you need is a first degree in anything.
Okay.
Including anthropology.
Yeah.
The first degree in anything.
Where? Anthropology ilikufanya nini?
Sikuna watu wanatuongoza na hiyo degree.
Amesema including
I know.
Anthropology.
I know.
Yeah.
I heard him.
Ana shida na anthropology.
I'm in this studio.
Yes.
Rephrase, sema including literature,
botany and zoology. So let's say you have a degree in zoology or in carpentry and joinery or something, whatever it is. If you come to Kilimani Mediation Center, there are few institutions that have been accredited by the judiciary to teach mediation. Don't go to quacks, because that certificate will not be recognized thereafter. So then you learn mediation for that period, and then we can hold your hand. There's a process that you go through to become court accredited. However, with the basic training, you can start mediating any dispute of private nature. And by private nature, I mean any dispute that has not gone to court. Hata kama ni between companies. Hata kama ni dispute ya 2 million between, ama ni ya 5 billion between Safaricom and EABL or whatever big. The volume is not what makes it private. What makes it private is that it has not been to court. So you can start mediating. However, for you to start now getting the disputes that emanate from our courts, you have to do now what we call accreditation by the judiciary. It's a process. You go through a 3-month mentorship, which we take you through. That means as when I'm resolving disputes, you are here with me. And you get to learn along the way how not to do what and how to do what. And then after that, then you go for an interview. If the judiciary finds that you are fit, then you become court accredited. You actually get a badge with the judiciary logo on it, with your names on it, saying this is Siti Muga, he's a court accredited mediator. And you actually choose, because within the ranks of the judiciary there are so many things. If you don't want family, don't pick family. If you find it too emotive, if for example you can't do employment disputes, don't pick employment disputes. So there are so many, including maritime disputes, that you can do. Go for what works for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, you've said 40 hours, yeah?
Yeah.
If I want to be, is there like another course for like a really critical, like expert or mediation?
Yes. Yes. You see now, Fanyamambo Kinuthia, after his 40-hour training in mediation, I would go and do a certificate in mediating insurance disputes specifically. I did another one that had a partnership between the judiciary and the Kenya Bankers Association on mediating banking and financial disputes. I would then do an international accreditation in mediation. I am now a member of ICMC, which means I'm an international mediator. I would then go and do a training of trainers in mediation. And now I have created a course content for mentorship, and I'm now teaching people how to mentor others in mediation. So when you see me not going to court, I have a place I'm big at. I am now the chairman of the Association of all certified mediators in Kenya. So mediation for me is not an accident. People tend to think, we mbono wendi kotini. I tell them, look here, today is a weekday. I'm in a short-sleeved shirt. I'm not tucked in. Sina tai sijanyonga. And I'm not interested in going that direction. I am happy to help people resolve their disputes out of court. I have authored a book, my mediation journal, that teaches people mediation. I have authored a second book, Mentorship in Mediation. It's actually called Holding My Hand, Mentorship in Mediation. So I'm all about mediation. I ran the first of its kind, Kilimani Mediation Center. People asked me, are you normal? Who starts a mediation center? I tell them they are there abroad. We just didn't have one in Kenya. So we started Kilimani Mediation Center. And so I have been telling people that mediation has its future. And it's here to stay. Finally, we do training. Like we have a training coming between the 24th of November to the 28th of November. Feel free to plug in. Just come. It's affordable and change your life. Just look for us 24th to 28th of November. We have
affordable,
a training.
You say?
Yes, it is.
And how many installments are you allowed to pay for it?
Basically, you can start paying early. We have allowed people to pay up to 50%, but then we won't allow you to pick your certificate until you are done, but we will train you.
And you are like Kenya National Examination Council?
Not really. What happens is, you see, there's a cost to this thing. I mean, if we put you up in a hotel, we need to pay for the cost. The hotel will not tell us, you ate mandazi, you'll pay for mandazi next year. You will pay for the mandazi you are eating. So yes, we are there and we are really helping people. And we are hoping that this practice of mediation can grow. And it's changing lives. I mean, we've seen people who come through us and they get accredited and they're happy and they tell me, Fanyamambo, now the judiciary is paying me, because the judiciary pays you for resolving disputes that they have given to you.
Kuna mtu anasema ati Fanyamambo Kinuthia, hiyo rosary ina make your clients wa kutrust.
It should have been on the inside. I didn't notice on the outside, but I'm happy with it.
It is very perfectly where it is, and it's nice.
Thank you.
Right. Now, in terms of we also see other kinds of disputes in this country, including political ones. Is that something that this alternative or appropriate dispute resolution can handle?
ADR is for the willing. In all the things I have said, if people are willing, you can resolve. I mean, I wish Mama Samia Suluhu embraced that. I wish she had decided to have a conversation
between herself and Tundu Lissu.
Lakini leo tuongei siasa. But all I'm trying to say, mediation is for the willing. If one party says no, we don't force you. That's the other part that people need to know. You come to us, we reach out to the other party. If the other party says go to hell, we might be okay. Or they tell you
to hell it is.
You just tell them it's fine. I mean, we can't force you to mediate. But at the end of the day, they usually end up discovering, I saw one who told me, that is nonsense. Kama uko na jela yako nipeleke. And the client was seated here. He said, wait, niko na jela. And he started a process of litigation. Right now, yule mtu alislapiwa na bili ya 2.5 million about a case that he should have paid 1.5 M. He's been threatened with auction. He's come to me. He's telling me, help me mediate between myself and your client. And I'm telling you, I don't want to remind you that you said kama niko na jela yako nikupeleke, but I want to help you. So now it was me writing to this guy and telling him, can we mediate? And he's telling him, ata wewe kama uko na jela yako nipeleke. So the earliest opportunity to mediate, please take it. Please take it. I always beg people, take the earliest opportunity to mediate.
Kama uko na jela yako nipeleke.
Remember there were some individuals, at least that one I saw. Peleka Ikwa Ruto. Remember that one? Did you not catch up with them?
The fellows are in court right now.
Yes.
So sometimes hiyo kiburi ndio inaharibu. I usually implore people, if you can, there is no stupidity in talking to someone, especially someone with whom, can you imagine, you know, a divorce proceeding is messy. I usually tell people, do you know you're literally there trying to tell the judge how bad your husband was?
I've been there.
Or how bad your wife was.
Nilikuanga huko.
In details.
Yes. And you remember there was one minister I don't want to mention. We even got to know what happens in their bedroom and how, and who does not do what, and who is not capable of what. You know, they start saying what you can do in bed and what you can't do. See, they should have tried on the floor. But what I'm trying to say is...
What are you trying to say?
Mediation. The only furniture they had in the house.
Mediation saves you that embarrassment. It saves you that embarrassment. Yeah, it saves you that embarrassment.
Someone is asking for your number,
Yes.
or rather details of how they can get in touch with you. First of all, one question: how much does 80 hours of training cost? My brother has been seriously considering taking that course.
It is 40 hours,
40
not,
hours,
80,
not 80.
which is a 1 week. You start on Monday and finish on Friday. If you take the virtual option, it will cost you 30,000 shillings. If you take the physical option, it will cost you 45,500. We are on 0746 859 046 0746 859 046. And Kilimani Mediation Center is also online. We have our website. So if you just Google Kilimani Mediation Center, you'll get our website. It has everything about us.
Okay.
It has everything about us, yes.
The details of how to get in touch.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much Fanya Mambo. This is different. Unajua tumekuwa tukiongea juu ya siasa, hapa sasa hizi ungekuwa ukiongea juu ya Suluhu and what he has done or not done.
Yes, I almost got tempted to go that direction, but I'm happy that today we are talking about something that solves human problems and something that if we do with a complete and total desire to resolve, it will happen.
But I thought that the career that you're pursuing is also purposed to resolve issues. Well, that one doesn't resolve issues.
Which one?
It's
The
called
political
politics,
ones?
Yes.
That one just puts things back where they're supposed to be. Actually, I am not going into politics for anything else. Just to restore. Because this country has had order before. Just to restore. Yeah, just to restore.
All right. Fanya Mambo. Shukran sana. Next week sasa kuja tuongee siasa.
I am happy to come.
Ndio tuongee juu ya venye serikali imefanya nani, alafu venye ODM wamepanga hivi, alafu venye Kalonzo amesema hivi, and then life goes on. But anyway, that's where we come to a close as far as our conversation today is concerned. We shall be seeing you again tomorrow bright and early. Kesho ni Friday, si unajua hivyo? Kesho ni Friday. Haya, sawa. Bright and early. Right now though, Winnie Maganga.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. The Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, Anthony Buluma, has called on young leaders